Greetings on this Sunday night, and let's talk about this issue that I don't know. I just kind of find a little weird in our community, amongst the Western culture, the diaspora, the issue of colorism. Now, did one of the reasons why this broadcast is being made tonight because we just can't celebrate something and enjoy something. There always has to be this little BS right here, and I'm saying this as a dark-skinned black person that I don't see what the big issue is with colorism. I just don't. I don't understand. And if there's a person out there that can help me on my perceived ignorance, by all means, we're all free to make comments, especially for people catching the replay or for people who are watching the live, who are able to participate in the chat. Just going to be a few things tonight. But first off, before we get started, if this is your first time on this channel, please by all means hit that subscribe button. And also, if you haven't and you're tuning into this broadcast, please hit one of the thumbs below the screen. You could either hit like or you could hit dislike. It's your choice. Some of the things that I say during this broadcast may not be to your liking, and I do understand if you want to go that route. But it's all good. It's all good. But anyway, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone is having a great weekend today, and always having a great time and being safe out there. I would, I always wish the best for anyone who watches these platforms and my platform as well. But let me get back to the screen share here just for a moment, because I do understand that people may disagree with me on this one thing. So let's boil down to the issue that makes this topic come to the surface once again. Because I did a broadcast on colorism a while back, and it's nothing for me to refresh and reinforce what I said in that broadcast then, and I'll say it in that broadcast now. I just don't think that colorism is a really big issue. I think it's just a distraction from the actual issue of racism. I don't get it. But I mean, do we always, with every film that we watch, do we always look for historical accuracies? No, we don't. I think for the most part, we look to be entertained. If it's historically accurate and boring, no one's going to talk about it, and no one is going to care. If it's historically accurate and stupid, it'll be vilified. But with this particular film, and I gotta tell you, I've already watched this film several times. I still, do have a Netflix account. It's like Netflix has this thing where they'll do something to really piss you off, and then they'll redeem themselves. It's kind of a love-hate type of deal. But you know, as far as the colorist aspect, as far as um, the colorist aspect, as far as how blacks are perceived in the media altogether, um, my deal is not to ever take it too far out of the confines of racism. I think that we forget. I think that we easily forget uh, our path and where we've been and what we have gone through once we start digging into other little stupid things. Because I mean, colorism or the non to me the non-existence of colorism uh, is just no more than a distraction from the actual issue of racism. Not trying to say it's an us against them thing, but this colorism thing seems to stick it to the credo of us against us. Now, you know, I understand that bitter people and for the most part, the narrative of the sisterhood is that black men are the colorist. I may be seen as a colorist because I don't fucking care about colorism. I just don't. I don't. And like I said, I've said this as a dark skinned black man myself. I don't care about colorism. It's no issue to me. I mean, I've seen, like I said, I've seen the worst come from all shades of people. To be worried about something as minuscule as an insecurity that you may be suffering from yourself. I mean, we joked on each other. We called each other black ass. But when light skinned people came, became an issue, and we understand that, sometimes people are just lighter in skin tone. Sometimes that comes from a mixing of the races. Say for instance, a white man and a black woman get together, and the hold on, I'm trying to fight off a sneeze. And sometimes the kid's born as a lighter skinned person. And we can see that as being somewhat of a privilege for that person because of what we went through as darker skinned people. What I'm here to say is that that's stupid shit. That's stupid shit. We seem to think that light skinned people have it easier than dark skinned people, according to the quote unquote ruling class society. And what I'm saying in this case is people have about as much power as you give them. Now, as far as the film itself was very, very entertaining. There are plenty of historical discrepancies as far as the characters were concerned. They are based on real people. There was an actual Nat Love. There was an actual Bill Pickett. I mean, he wasn't a sniper like he was depicted in the film. He was a rodeo cowboy. Beckworth was actually much younger in the film. Um, Rufus Buck was much older in the film. I mean, it's just plenty of things. I mean, it's like if you want to look at, because the complaint about the whole Zazie Beetz being staged as being cast as Stagecoach Mary was the fact that she wasn't some big out of shape dark skinned woman. And let's just face it, if they would have tried to come close to casting a woman that looked like the actual Stagecoach Mary, some of you aren't going to like this. It would have been an eyesore. It would have been an eyesore. Period. I'm not saying that because of her darker skin. Believe me, I've seen quite a few sexy dark skinned women. But let me tell you something. Zazie Beetz is an incredible actress. She is. She's an incredible actress. I thought she fit that role quite well for what they were trying to present. And a lot of y'all ain't gonna like this when I say this either. I loved her natural hair. That natural hair was everywhere. Boy, was it sexy. So I mean, she pulls off with her hair what many women on their own would say, "Oh my God, her hair is so beautiful. It's so beautiful." But she gets cast in this role, and all of a sudden, everything is wrong with it. To the point where she even releases a statement that she said that she is aware of her privilege. You know why? She says things like she's aware of her privilege because there's some dark-skinned internet code with their insecurities reminding her on a day-to-day basis that people would rather choose her for roles than some dark-skinned women. You know why? Because Zazie Beetz is just a hell of an actress. But according to a lot of you out there, she got chose because she was light skinned. We have got to stop this bullshit. We have got to stop this. I mean, there are plenty of African American actors that are dark skinned that do get plenty of roles. Now, I mean, do we start complaining let's say for instance, Viola Davis. She's playing Michelle Obama. Now let's look at Viola Davis. She's darker than Michelle Obama. Should browner people, that are, a shade lighter than Viola Davis, should they start getting mad and start accusing those people of colorism? Now we know we don't touch dark skinned people with the colorism part. But, people accepted that. So, I mean, we accept what we want to accept. We're not going to tell ourselves what the real reasons are for our grievances. You know, I said something earlier in the chat. I said that the females are the biggest perpetrators of colorism. Ask any ask any person that's ever been a light skinned niece how hard it can be sometimes to be light skinned. Period. Because I mean, people resent these folks because they are put on a pedestal by their own people because they have a fairer skin tone. I've seen plenty of dark skinned people act a fool. I had a cousin who used to get teased on a regular basis, like a younger one, much younger, one of my first cousin's children, because she was light skinned and she wore her natural hair. Same, about the same as Zazie Beats, who's pictured on the right. Yeah, girls were mean to her. One of her friends, who was also light skinned, got into a fight. Now, I've heard a couple stories like this. How dark. And I'm not trying to paint this picture of the 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 evil the evil dark skinned person. I'm not trying to say that just because a woman is dark skinned, she has a horrible attitude and she's more prone to violence than a light skinned person, because then that's exactly what those dark skinned women are talking about. What I'm talking about is life experience, what I've observed with my eyes. That we keep pushing this issue and we won't admit that, hey, you know what? If we just got over ourselves, this would not even be an issue right here. Now, if you have ever experienced any level of this so called colorism, you can type it in the chat. Or, like I said, if you're watching a replay, um, leave it in the comment section. But I just don't believe in it, because the only thing I've ever seen was, you know, what and how I'm perceived as a black person. I don't know. I guess just because like I'm dark skinned and I would have had to go through the dark skin stuff anyway. People calling you black ass. I mean, we've called each other black ass as a joke all the time. Shut your black ass up. But you know what those people never accuse anybody of? Colorism. Even though that's blatantly colorist, I guess, by definition. Shit, we it's just I don't know. I guess it's like I guess the impact of living in a more sensitive America. We live in a more sensitive, more insecure, more we wear our emotions on our sleeves America. Anything that is about said about any of our archetypes, we just kind of fall to fucking pieces. And actually, if like I said, not to paint the dark skinned person as the bad guy, I don't want to do that Tyler Perry shit. The irony of it is Idris Elba's in this movie, and Idris Elba did play a kind of a dark skinned good guy, because Tyler Perry, I guess, felt some obligation to clear the record. I'm always not going to rag on the dark skinned guys and say the light skinned guy's the good guy, and the dark skinned guy is always going to be the bad guy. But y'all know what I mean. I'm not trying to paint this picture, but we sometimes, us as dark skinned people, we've been the aggressors of colorism by definition, if such were to exist. I mean, hell, I've even posted a couple of light skinned jokes on my community tab. But the thing is, we can poke all we want at light skinned folks. And what do we expect from them? We expect some kind of prostration. Since you're light skinned and you're closer to being white, you should feel guilty. Now you got a people who faces discrimination from two ways, just like mixed race people. Just what we're doing is we're creating even bigger, more unnecessary problems. Zazie is a great actress. Let me tell you something. She's just getting started. Her people like Jonathan Majors, Lakeith Stanfield, who played a despicable piece of shit once again, and let's see, as reported, he suffered from massive anxiety in the filming of this movie. So the sacrifices that black actors make to give you a good piece of entertainment, just to let you know. And the irony of that, Zazie Beetz and Lakeith Stanfield both were in the show Atlanta. Donald Glover, uh, Childish Gambino show. I mean, you have a guy like Donald Glover that put on three breakout actors: Lakeith Stanfield, Zazie Beetz, and a guy I'm currently pissed off with, Brian Tyree Henry, and that's another conversation. But despite all that, black people doing good. I don't even know why and speaking of Donald Glover, I don't even know why black people even like to talk about shit like colorism after the way they treated Donald Glover. Recently, I guess on Twitter, they were comparing the show Atlanta to the show Dave. Dave, of course, is starring this white rapper named Lil Dicky. Now, I've listened to Lil Dicky's music, and I'm a little entertained by a couple of the songs. I think he's more of a comedy rapper as such. But Donald Glover was citing how unfair the comparison was because of the three breakout rappers. I mean, the three breakouts that were on his show. My bad. And he was stating, well, it was like you're really comparing Atlanta to Dave, and y'all call me to sell out. It's like, I'm like young people. That's all I got to say about that. But Donald Glover had a point. I mean, we sit there and we beat our chest about this colorism thing and this racism thing, and then we turn around and do dumb shit like that. And then I know some of y'all like, oh, but his white baby mama. Still, Donald Glover, if he does have a white baby mama, but technically for a lot of the complainers on the internet out there, he's done more for the black quote fingers community more than you have. So anyway, let's get back to the subject of this colorism. You got black folks who went out their way to give you a movie that wasn't about, that wasn't equated or attached to black struggle. It wasn't a slave narrative. It wasn't a civil rights narrative. It wasn't an us getting beaten in the head by white folks narrative. And shit, we did a lot to white folks in that film. I'll tell you that much. It's a fictional story, but I mean, like, damn. Like, one thing I liked about this film in particular, even though you had a lot of people complaining about, oh, the historical inaccuracies. Like I said, if you want to go into historical inaccuracies, which I'll kind of go into in just a second, we can do that. But it was an entertaining film. Period. One thing I did like about that film, it was no white savior complex presented in that film. Not like the film Hidden Figures, the film with Taraji Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe. The film where they got smart black women gawking at white men. Mm-hmm. Kevin Costner, a made-up character. Hey, y'all accepted that as empowering. Didn't really hear all the complaints about Hidden Figures. I mean, even though it probably was a little bit closer to what actually happened in this movie right here. Hell, nobody had a problem with Young Guns. Remember Young Guns back in the day? It was a western. I mean, it was loosely based on a true story, I would say. But there were historical inaccuracies right there. Hell, you had Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Now that was blatantly fictional. Shit, you had Harriet. Now, it like that. But the point is what I'm trying to say is this. The point is what I'm trying to say is this. We've asked for these kinds of films, even though they were based on real people. We want films that are not equated to black struggle. We want films that doesn't depict us as slaves and servants and defeated, beaten, broken people. Not depicted as gang members and thugs and prostitutes and dumbass baby mamas and we were depicted in this film as powerful and dangerous in an old west style. Hell, my granddad used to love westerns. Shit, my father-in-law likes westerns. They love this film. And not once did they use the N-word. Not once. They made it their business not to use the N-word. We've asked for this kind of stuff and then yet and still we complain. We always complain about shit. Y'all, we complain to the point where we got the actresses themselves apologize. Zazie Beetz shouldn't have to apologize for anything. Like I said, Zazie is a great actress and she's easier on the eyes. Period. So take that how you want to take it. So let's talk about some historical inaccuracies and some legends and such. And let me get some shout outs. Excalibur 83rd Elite. Toya the Tutor. She said, yeah, Brian Tyree Henry is a standout. I mean, I wouldn't say he completely sold out or whatever. It's just that I wish brothers would stand up for how we're represented a little bit more. I mean, if you see what happens when you let other races decide it. Cortez Smith, am I lying? Am I lying though? Am I lying? You want to see Jonathan Majors snuggled up with something that looks like that? I mean, nobody had a problem with like the male actors being darker than a lot of the. Man, let's just look at it a little for a second, okay? Let's talk about these historical inaccuracies, but let me do these shout outs first. Ian Graves, what's going on? Sam Sample, what's going on? Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. Yeah, I mean, for the information that he's trying to give on his channel, I hope his channel is growing. Need more brothers in there like that. So Hank, for what it's worth, Alonzo, please continue to do what you're doing. The Village Arsonist TV. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Juan G's, Mr. Z, Black in Effect. What did he say? Say that, Kev. Who truly elevates lighter skinned black folks above dark skin? Chris Tucker told y'all in Rush Hour that if you follow the money, it leads to the white man. Yeah. Peter Frank, make your own movies and all these problems goes away. African Americans, stop acting like white people are your parents. Grow up. Sorry, had to give applause on that one. Cynical Optimist, I see you down there. Cortez Smith. When I first saw her in the other movies, I knew she was gonna be big. Let me tell you something. When I saw Lakeith Stanfield, I knew he was gonna be big. Like Brian Tyree Henry, yeah, he's breaking out more and more. I mean, I'm glad that he's able to diversify his roles. But like I said, I wish he'd have just stood on something a little bit more when he did that Marvel film because nah. We always talk about, they always talk about representation, representation, representation. Who comes who ever comes to ask the black man about black man representation? No one. That wasn't Brian Tyree Henry was not decided by black people. That was decided by an Asian. What he should be presented as. Like I said, if you hand everybody else our narratives, guess what? Now, The Harder They Fall was produced, if I'm not mistaken, was produced by Jay Z. Excuse me. I was like, keep going. We always complain about this. We always just like what's his name was saying, Peter Frank. We always complain about black people not having their hands on black narratives. Street Fighter 88. I just hope the new Blade is good. Marvel's so woke now. I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried about that too because what Marvel did for the first phases, they used what always worked, and then now they're thinking like, oh, okay, since we're an unstoppable juggernaut, pun intended, we can start fitting all this other stuff in here. And then it'll just maintain its popularity. The rude awakening is no, it doesn't. I was Sam Sample. I was confused. I thought it was this a character specific movie. This is about that new western I have not watched yet. Oh, okay. So I'll try to be as non-spoilery as possible about the film. Like I said, I've watched it several times, but go check it out. If you like to be entertained, go check the film out. It's called The Harder They Fall, starring Jonathan Majors as an iteration of the historical Western figure Nat Love. Um, yeah, one thing that one thing that we are always depicted as back before, like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, is a people of struggle. They never told you about post-slavery titles that black people and especially black men had, like cowboys, motherfucking train robbers, and even politicians. And case of one of the people in this movie, a sheriff. Now let's start talking about a little history here. I did a some short research on some of these characters. So, Bass Reeves was played. He was depicted by Delroy Lindo in the film. Bass Reeves was the African American lawman. Lawman. Well, he was an American lawman, as history states. And yes, he was based off of the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger in the television shows is usually depicted as a white guy with a mask on, and then he had this Native American, what they called him then, an Indian assistant named Tonto. Now, about Bass Reeves himself, they said that he was a master of disguise, an expert marksman. He had a Native American assistant, and he rode a silver horse. I liked the way that Bass Reeves was depicted in the film. I thought Delroy Lindo did a great job. So that's where the history of that character. I mean, the story of The Harder They Fall is in no way, shape, or form a true story. The characters, however, that were depicted with a little twist and bends here and there were actually real people. Rufus Buck Rufus Buck was actually 18 years old at the time of his run. Idris Elba, of course, is not 18 years old. The Rufus Buck gang was a mix of black and Native American. This leads me to the conclusion that blacks and Native Americans made it quite often back then. And that's one of the things that that's one of the historical elements that they won't ever tell you. But yeah, Idris Elba depicted Rufus Buck in the film as an actual brawny, ruthless motherfucker. And with Rufus Buck being an actual gang leader, a young gang leader, I mean, shit, Rufus Buck was probably around here talking about old ninjas. All these old ninjas around here, I'm hitting y'all up, me and my boys. I mean, but in the film, he was depicted as very menacing. But I mean, if you want to go with historical inaccuracies, we'll go with that. Now, Cuffy. I like Cuffy, and I didn't have a chance to look her up. Basically, she was depicted in the film as kind of a right hand person to Stagecoach Mary at one of her saloons. Yeah, I like the character. I ain't gonna lie. I've had a, I get along with Dykes. I get along with them for some reason. We cool. They always know where the best smoke at. For some reason. I mean, they cool people, man. What can I say? But I thought her character was pretty good. Now, Gertrude Smith. Let me tell you, well, from what I read, the little bit that I read, she was, I don't know. There's not really much known about her. Regina King probably gave some over homage to what her character. It made her seem like she was much more deadly and much more dangerous. But historically, she's just actually a pickpocket. There are legends told of things that she might have done, but that's about it. She was a pickpocket. She was one of those. She was a thief, but not as prominent as the movie made her seem. And let me tell you something about Regina King playing this character. Oh man, I fell back in love with Regina King. I ain't gonna even lie. Regina King knocked this role out the park. Just wow, wow. She's in amazing shape for her age. And the accent she did with the character, I just can listen to it like all day, all night. I mean, it just is that something? Is that something about her that. But I don't know if you guys agree or you don't agree, and I understand what kind of theme we give to these women in this space. That they are older and they for some reason they're not getting married or not able to keep someone. But let's just keep it to like visual admiration. Regina King is just doing her thing. But as far as Gertrude Smith, she made her into a much bigger legend than what she actually was. Oh, here we go. Because we don't mind if actors who were, who the people, if the people who they were based off of were much more light skinned, we don't mind darker skinned people playing them. And this right here is an example, Cherokee Bill. Now, I did say that Lakeith Stanfield, they're gonna start typecasting him as a despicable villain. Like, I can't wait for his like just his villainous roles to come to fruition. I mean, he's an amazing actor. Like Cherokee Bill, they're just like William O'Neill. Well, not just like William O'Neill, but Cherokee Bill like was a despicable bastard in this film for several reasons. And you check out the film itself, hey, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, like I said, Lakeith Stanfield suffered from anxiety during the filming of this movie. So, like I said, black actors sacrificing and to bring you a good product. But Crawford Goldsby, as his real name is, was a 19th century American outlaw. He was. So, I mean, Yeah, but I don't know if he ran around, doing what he did in the film, but okay. Jim Beckworth. Jim Beckworth actually had a white father. Yeah, and the picture here looks a lot older than the actor himself. Now, what did he do that got him into this film? He was an explorer. He was a mountain man. He was a fur trader. But he was a fighter. He was nicknamed Bloody Arm. He was born into slavery, but he was freed by his white father and apprenticed to a blacksmith where he could learn the trade. Uh, doesn't too much sound like the fastest gun ever or whatever, but like you said, we're talking about his history right now. We're talking about history. Now, Nat Love. Oh, Nat Love. Like, this is Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is, yeah, that guy has a bright future ahead of him. Uh, yeah, he was an actual Old West hero. Yeah, he was an American cowboy. He was a former slave, which was not mentioned in the film. Like, no slavery and no N word was mentioned in the film. And that's one thing that could make you look at the film like it's a great film itself. But anyway, and I had this on the screen for quite some time, and I pretty much made my point about that. It is it's not colorism. It's not colorism. It's not colorism. Believe me, it's Hollywood. Hollywood is full of beautiful people. I'm just going to go ahead and say it is full of beautiful people. And Hollywood doesn't want to do anything that is unattractive and unappealing to the eye. It's one big, they want it to be one big, pretty picture, you know. So, realistically speaking, if you were to cast in this film right here with everyone else, say they cast everyone else, but they cast a Stagecoach Mary, like say for instance, like they cast Jill Scott or some shit like that. Not to say that Jill Scott is not some of you guys' cup of tea. It could have sold, but would they have been able to put that love story with it? Could Jill Scott produce the same level of perceived strength as Zazie Beetz? And the answer to that is, who the fuck cares at the end of the goddamn day, except for a few insecure people. Now, I'm about to open this panel up. Now, you can talk about the film. Try to stay away from the spoilers because there are a couple people here who haven't seen the film just yet. But, like I said, if you have a Netflix account, the movie is called The Harder They Fall. It is a black Western film. A black Western. And like I was stating earlier, there is a growing sentiment on our side of the green of us wanting to see more films that don't have the struggle narratives attached to them. And this is one of the films, and this is a pretty good one. So, James Earl Moans. What's going on? They were not going to make his love interest Leslie Jones. Hell no. Leslie Jones for the kind of, and let me just be a bit objective about this. Leslie Jones for the kind of actress that she is, she's a comedy genre actress, and I don't believe that you could take her serious in a role. It's not like the comedy genre actors now. Those guys are surprising. Like, they can translate their talent from comedy to somewhere like horror very successfully. But it's not very often that you will come across a actress a comedy actress, especially one with the look and the mannerisms of Leslie Jones, that can translate that into some seriousness. Plus, I mean, like if you'd have put like if Leslie Jones would have put some weight on, she probably would have been a kind of a look accurate stagecoach Mary. But is no fucking way that would have ever worked for this film. And you know, like and y'all can take offense to what I said, but it's the truth. Y'all know I'm speaking the truth. Hell, what of that guy that played the well, you got, like I said, spoilers. You know, because one of the guys in the film that was a bad guy, I didn't recognize him from anything. Let's see. Kareen, not Karen. Regina King is a great actress, been doing since she was a young child, so she is well experienced. Yes, and for those of you who have followed Regina King's career, I think she might have gotten her start in the television sitcom 227 with Marla Gibbs. Let's see who else was in that show. I think, yeah, Sandra. Yeah, the Sandra Clark. She was in that show too. But yeah, Regina King. She's been around for quite some time. I kind of like when she played that old. She played when she played that old. I want to say chick because when she was in Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice, she started playing like more hoodish roles, and you know I kind of did like her during that period. But then when she played Cuba Gooding Jr.'s wife and Jerry Maguire, that kind of redeemed her with me. You know, I kind of liked the way she acted in that film right there. I didn't watch The Watchmen because you know I heard about one of the characters. I mean, he's like, oh, I'm good on that. But I heard she was pretty good in The Watchmen. I might actually just go back and watch that for objectivity's purposes. But yeah, Regina King has aged very well, and like I said, I liked her depiction of Good Truth Smith in this film. Jackie, yeah, Jackie Harry, yeah, Jackie Harry, yeah. Jackie didn't do very much after 227. She did that movie Ladybugs. Now, if there was a colorism issue, Jackie Harry would have been very successful because Jackie Harry is very light skinned, very light skinned. Regina King, she played Will Smith White in any of Enemy of the State in the late '90s too. Yeah, Indigenous TV. Who mad about something this time? LOL. What's going on, man? No, just talking about the whole colorism thing and how we as blacks we always got something to complain about. And the latest of this is the movie The Harder They Fall. I thought The Harder They Fall was a great film. I would recommend it to anyone to go check it out. Especially if you know you had that grandfather, that uncle that liked country western films, and you have memories as a kid sitting there watching and then thinking like how boring this goddamn film is until somebody gets shot in their chest. You know, that's how it used to be for me. Now, I would say I did catch a couple of good westerns, like Guns of the Magnificent Seven, and I liked that show, The Rifleman, which was a country western show. But it was like when I heard about like black cowboys like Nat Love because they had some kind of history. My dad got me this comic book series, and it was like Black History comics. Anyone, any one of you listening that is older, you might know what I'm talking about. I mean, I had it was a certain set of comics that I guess they would sell on TV and in magazines. That's how they did back in the day before internet. Um, and one of the comics was called Black Cowboys. Uh, yeah, and it told the story of Nat Love in that comic book. Now, Indigenous TV, were they emasculating black men in that movie, Harder They Fall? No. This is what I liked about that film. Wasn't none of that woke shit in this film. Wasn't none of it in there. It wasn't like just putting females in charge just to put females in charge. I mean, that would not have made sense to the story. And I'm not knocking female lead roles. I'm not knocking that, as long as it makes sense to the story, and that's what I've always said. Now the problem, indigenous TV. Uh, the problem indigenous TV is this. Let me share the screen once again. James Earl Moan, no white saviors either. Yeah, yeah, that's accurate. The problem is, this is what the problem they found with it, and this is us. Netflix accused of colorism for casting Zazie Beetz as Stagecoach Mary. That's the one complaint everybody found about this film, and I'm on record of saying I don't give a damn. Now I know some people are going to be asking, if you don't give a damn, why you doing a broadcast on it? You know how people love to be all smart and technical with every goddamn thing. Um, I'm not saying I don't care. I'm just saying that, I did literally say I didn't care. I don't care about colorism. What I'm saying is, these are a bunch of bullshit distractions from what we need to be focused on as a people. There's actual racism out there that is not being focused on. Plus the fact, I wouldn't have wanted to see a woman looking like this walking around that screen anyway. Unless she was a brilliant actress. And add like value to the story itself. Stagecoach Mary was in this film. Just a slight spoiler. She was depicted as Nat Love's love interest, and Jonathan Majors probably compliments Zazie Beetz more in that context and tone, rather than someone that looks like the actual Stagecoach Mary. All I'm just encouraging people is just to have a little fun and just to appreciate art in motion, as this film was. You know, crying about colorism is really stupid. And if you want to boil it, if you want to solve the problem of colorism, women got to start talking to women. Period. Now, this is the issue with black women. So black women got to start talking to black women about this, because it ain't really anything that I can foresee black men doing about this, except, I mean, you have these brothers that's online that will say, "Well, I love a dark skinned woman," and that motherfucker could say that shit 100 fucking times. You could have groups of men saying that shit 100 fucking times, and none of this colorism crap is gonna go away. And also indigenous TV, um, I was like, well, if there is a colorism problem, that it's a much bigger problem for maybe the light skin than the dark skin. Let's think about it this way: your archetypal black person, your black person archetype is always going to be a brown to darker skinned person. When you think of a black person, you're going to think of dark skin automatically. You're not going to think of light skin. You're not. So how can colorism exist? Period. If you think that a lighter skinned person is somehow privileged, maybe you're just a little, not saying anyone specifically, but just in general. If you believe that a lighter skinned person is privileged, then that might just more so be an insecurity on your part. And this is coming from a dark skinned black man. I'm not like midnight, but I'm brown enough to the point where, yeah, I fit that regular archetype black person as far as the skin tone. How can colorism exist? If that. They chose her because she's pretty. Oh yeah, it's because she's pretty. Yeah, she's pretty. She's easier on the eyes. Okay, so what? Will I get mad because they didn't choose an 18-year-old actor to play Rufus Buck? Rufus Buck would not have been quite as menacing if not been played by Idris Elba. So yeah, that's what people are mad about. They're mad about this whole colorism boogie man, boogie person, or whatever. I say, ask any woman that's ever been a light skinned niece in a family full of women how colorism is and who colorism comes from mostly. So yeah, that's the central issue. Oh, here we go. I hope y'all. Let me see. Block user. Okay. Mod wrenches are active. You know, we got a spammer down there. But no, it's like this. No, they were. I mean, what color was the director of the film? Okay, let's see. Who directed The Harder They Fall? Director was a team of men called the Bullets. The Bullets are black men. Yep, yep. The Bullets. Hold up. Let me see. I'm just trying to get some men. Let's see. Yeah, they're black though. They were black directors. Indigenous TV. Okay, I guess you're saying that Zazie Beats is white. That makes her a Caucasian. I guess that makes Jim Beckworth, who was depicted in the film as a black person, I guess that makes him white as well because his daddy was white. Let me show you what Jim Beckworth looked like again in real life. Yeah, he looked like he was shit. He looked like he hang out with Dunn Magic Wand or something. Look at that hair. Yeah, Jim Beckworth had a white father. Now, let me go ahead and disagree with you real quick on the whole what makes someone white and black. I'm just gonna say it makes her mixed. We cannot give the senior position to the white side. Even if the father was white and they cling more to the white side, that melanin is still a dominant gene. Now, a lot of us like to discount that. We don't want to slip into the whole black supremacy thing, blah, blah, blah. But it is what it is. But I think it's safe to just say that people like Zazie Beats, people like Barack Obama, they're mixed. They're mixed. They're not white. Some may cleave to being whiter or more to their white side because like I said, we as blacks, if we had two black parents, we always see the lighter skin and the mixed people as having a leg up just because we feel as if they're going to get some type of golden approval by, white folks. And I've always just said we got to stop giving that power to them. We, excuse me, we got to get. And I mean, even if you believe that her having a white father makes her white, not black, just be petty and not give them the senior position anyway. Just saying. And a lot of us say that, like, okay, whatever the color father is, it's the more dominant one. We say that because when the father is black and the woman is another nationality, we would like to believe ourselves that they are going to be more black. But, humans can be disappointing, so we need to be careful with that. Yep. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So, second. Sorry about this, folks. Just wanted to see something real quick. Uh, Indigenous TV. Appreciate you getting rid of the Yahoo. Yeah, I just wanted to see. I just wanted to see who got rid of the spammer. Thank you, Indigenous TV. Prime VA, what's going on? Prime VA 757. I'm sure there's Primetime VA 757 down there. Let me see. I thought I gave you a wrench. Man, did you get, man, y'all be getting y'all like accounts deleted like a motherfucker. Y'all must be antagonizing folks or something. Like it like that's the thing. I don't see like I can understand if it's a channel, but you're just a commenter. How did they delete commenter accounts? That shit's funny as fuck. They did that to Hybrid Impact. Y'all must be antagonizing folks, man. Well, shoot, let me go ahead. Let me fix that for you real quick. There you go. Ian Graves, prettiest, pretty is pretty is. Is that Excalibur 8030 Elite LMAO? When you tell the truth, they report you. Okay, yeah, y'all must be bothering them pink pillars, them sisterhoods. You know, they don't like the truth at all. Like they don't like. I mean, one thing that people in chat should understand and learn, at least about me, is never put up a debate with me. Now, I mean, you can put up the debate, but I can't guarantee you're gonna come out of it unscathed. I mean, shoot, you know, I mean, don't ever let anyone play you for stupid. All right, we got 17 watching. Let me see what my likes are looking like. All right, 27 likes. I appreciate that. That's a pretty good ratio. 17 watching, 27 likes. Yeah, so I mean, I think y'all guys deserve something for that. So let me see. Let me see what I can do for this. All right, let me give y'all some twerk action real quick. Not me in particular. You know, I'm a man. I don't do shit like that. But all right, 1 hour. Thank you guys. All right, shoot, just like that, we go from 27 to 30 likes. I must be doing something right. This is Kev. This is Black Men Being Brutally Honest, and the title of this broadcast is "Let's Talk." It's a movie, not colorism. This is for entertainment purposes only. The Cash App indeed is always available, just in case you got some money that is weighing too much in your pocket that you want to get rid of some of the weight. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm talking about the harder they fall, and you know, we as a people seriously never being satisfied with anything. You know, never. So let me do this real quick. Let me drop this. Oh my God, another spammer. We'll satisfy your wishes online. Hey. Okay, I got a wish. Hey, why don't you drop like $1,000 in the super chat? Yeah, since you want to spam my chat, naked HD. Yeah, why don't you drop $1,000 in there? Give me something tangible to work with. Hell, give me something tangible to work with. Yeah, man. But I mean, you know, for the main people who complain about colorism, they sure invoke his presence. They sure invoke his presence. Yeah, I think a lot of people use colorism as an excuse to cover up their social ineptitudes. You know, meaning that if you suck as a person, it's not because you're too dark. Hmm. So let me drop this link. Hmm. All right. So, anyone wants to give up any thoughts on, what I have said thus far? If especially if you've been up here before, you can go ahead and come up here. You don't. You can talk about the film and the colorism aspect and how we're not satisfied with anything. Just promise me you won't go too far off the rails. But this is what It's always interesting to get someone else's perspective. Oh my God. 83rd Elite. I mean, I said Naked HD was on Bellator MMA live stream. Oh shit. I guess I'm in the big leagues. if they feel it, I'm in the league with Bellator MMA. So shit, can't disappoint. Prepper 101, what's going on? Good to see you too. Good to see you too. Yeah, man. I don't know. I just hate. I just hate to see people complain about shit that's easily solvable. Indigenous TV. Black women are about to be hot because Cynthia Erivo, dark skinned black woman, was cast as the Wicked Witch of the West, and Ariana Grande was cast as the Good Witch in the Wicked live action. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Say that might be another broadcast. I'll just make that one a little shorter. Cynthia Erivo. I gotta give it to Cynthia Erivo. Cynthia Erivo played like the cutest Harriet Tubman I ever seen. That movie was awful. But I mean, I gotta call a spade a spade. She was a cute Harriet Tubman. For the first time ever, shit, I wanted to, don't tell my wife. I wanted to put the meat on Harriet Tubman. Goddamn Cynthia Erivo. But like I said, that movie was garbage. Oh my god. Full of historical inaccuracies. Let's talk about that for a second. Maria and Bigger Long in that film. Maria was played by Janelle Monáe, and Bigger Long was played by a guy I hadn't seen since that movie Road Trip. Both of them were fictional characters in a film about a person who actually existed. And the only intended purpose for them two characters to be in that film was to divide black men and black women. That was the only reason why they were even written in that film. Aside from a lot of the other garbage that was in that film. But if you want to look at things as a glass half full, Cynthia Erivo made the cutest Harriet Tubman I ever seen. Uh, you said that dude is in Queen Sugar. Okay, well, I don't watch Queen Sugar, so I mean, I didn't know, but yeah, like I've said, I ain't seen him since the movie Road Trip. Now, a lot of those black actors that be in these little, like these movies from back in the day that, are cult favorites, but they were extras, they usually end up in black films. The little smaller black films like what is that film? Yeah, well, anyway, I got somebody in the back. What's up, Ian?
Peace, God. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. What's what it is?
What's the no good?
Oh shoot, no, we're just talking about what I'm talking about. What idiotic nonsense colorism is and how it is dealt with by us normal folks, and and do just what are your thoughts on anything I've said so far?
I mean, I like the point where you said the colorism is really, if it is, within the black community is against the lighter skinned individuals. I like that. I like that point. I mean, that's not the only point, but that's a good point. It is a great point. I've made that point before. I'm like, okay, where are the whole mulatto towns? You know what I'm saying? To make this, this huge, uproar and anxiety and fear of light skinned people. getting ahead. You know what I'm saying? Where is the huge swath of light skinned people doing better than dark skin? I don't see the wealth being funneled or puddled into the hands of a light skinned group of individuals to make that even really a significant factor. I just never I never seen it. If economics is the measurement of what colorism is. I guess if we're talking about beauty, eh, I don't know. There's a lot of sisters out here getting dark skinned sisters getting married and getting idolized. So I really don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like as far as the idolizing part, the second somebody wants to big up black women, whether it's unnecessary or whatever, because someone displayed their insecurities, they're gonna default to a dark skinned woman.
Mm, mm,
Now, as far as who we outwardly choose as black people, we'll choose anybody the media tells us to choose. Hell, the
mm.
Democratic Party told us to choose Kamala Harris.
Right.
And, she didn't share any of our values, any of our interests, but they said she was black. So she black.
Yep.
Until of course she got elected. Well, Joe Biden got elected. Then all of a sudden she was South Asian. But see, the thing is though, the
Mm.
buy-in was there. The buy-in was there.
Tell me about that.
Just that we'll listen to anyone. We'll listen to any form of the media call somebody black as long as it's of prominence. A lot of us black men and a lot of us black people did not accept Kamala Harris.
Mm.
But the fact that she wore some Tims and she put hot sauce on her food, I guess made her black. But the whole thing is, you got a lot of colorism crybabies out there that accepted Kamala Harris automatically.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They took it too far.
yeah. So, hey, oh, Kareen is up here. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
Um, the colorism conversation. I mean, I hate when you guys just say that it's just like black woman thing because it's colorism is a form of racism. So I don't think it's just a black woman thing, but I see when you guys just push it off to black women because I know a lot of black women, the aunties and the grandmas, were like are the culprits, and the kids, especially with the children, but it's not only a black woman thing, you
Well,
know.
you're going to have to give some proof, because you gave proof against your case. So where's the proof
There's
that
there's
it's
no
not?
it's not get really against my I'm not trying to be like contrary. I'm just trying to say that we have to acknowledge that,
No, no, we shouldn't just
okay,
do
well,
it
there's a
just
case
because you
study. I,
feel it.
I forgot the case study. I have to look it up. I forgot the case study for black
No,
men. For black men who were darker, they were getting more. Their sentences when they went to jail was worse if they
then
were
who?
dark skinned,
Then
right?
light skinned men.
Than light skinned men. So
Oh,
that's a
okay,
proof that colorism do exist for black men. I forgot
okay.
the
No,
study.
you
I'm
no
gonna
you
find the
you
study.
no, you just
Hmm.
can't say that. I've never, you know what I'm saying. I've been to jail. You know what I'm saying. I've
Okay,
I've been I've been
I'll
I've
find.
been be,
Okay,
I've been beat up unconscious. Let me finish. I've been beat up unconscious by the police. A lot of these darker skinned Negroes holler about this and holler about that. You dark skinned sisters holler about a lot of stuff, and a lot of you have never even experienced racism, but you were the main ones hollering about it. You know what I'm saying? I
okay.
experienced it for real.
To say okay, I just have to push back. To say I haven't experienced racism.
I said a lot of you haven't.
Don't you can't say that for me, especially I'm an immigrant. So one thing, so just so you know, I'm an immigrant. So
Oh,
there's a
okay.
total different experience
It's totally
than
different. Yeah. So
total
yeah.
different
So okay.
experience.
It's
And just to
different.
let you know, to say I'm in New York, and people think it because you're in New York, people aren't racist in New York. It's a different form of racism. It's not overt in your face or you're black bee. They're not gonna say that to you. but the way they treat you, like if you go into certain stores up to now in 2021, they'll look at you a certain way. I've been in stores, like I told people this in the panel, and the people think I'm lying. I've been in different stores in different neighborhoods
Well,
in Brooklyn, New
looks.
York.
Listen, well, see, that's my point. Looks. See, well, I mean, a
No,
lot of
but it's
times.
you.
No, but let me say this. Let me when I start to finish, let me at least finish a couple
Okay.
words. So a lot of times, females when they talk about racism, different things, they're using things like you said, looks and feelings and different things. But see, me as an ADOS black man, you're right, coming from slavery, American slavery and the history here, understand that when I talk about slavery, I talk more from a structural, generational point of view. Things that would cause me, not to be able to excel, from one generation to the next. Where a lot of times, immigrants and women too in general, you guys are talking more about things that are not necessarily structural. It's the same thing like with feminism. Black feminists, try to equate racism, or feminine or patriarchy, on the level with racism. That's but feeling like you're not making the same dollar per dollar and different that's one thing. But when
I
you
don't. I don't
when
want to get
me as
off
a black
topic.
man, I'm talking about generations of men being put in jail, being killed, being
Okay.
lynched. I'm talking about me myself being beat up unconscious by the police. I'm talking about being on my school campus having the police call on me, and being accused of things having to do with white girls that I've never seen before that could have possibly landed me in jail in those situations. I'm talking about more substantive things. And a lot of times when immigrants and women get in these racism conversations, we're not talking about things that really, who cares if a white man looks at me or not? I don't. You know what I'm saying? If I get dirty, I don't care any about that. I care about my life and my health, and my generational uplift. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about feelings or whatever, because
Okay.
I got black people that'll look at me and
Okay.
give me eyes. So
Listen, I just want to have a comprehensive conversation and not about feelings. Because if colorism didn't exist, there wouldn't be skin bleaching, sir. There wouldn't be, you guys
huh?
always make it seem like, oh, people are just in feelings. Then why does skin bleaching exist? Why are
I
people
you
bleaching their
I
skin?
can't tell you that.
Uh,
You know,
I would say that's
come
more of
on.
a. I would say that's more of a self hatred thing than a colorism thing.
Yeah, but
Colorism,
where did it come
but
from?
in the context that colorism is presented, it's presented as somewhat of a discriminatory practice.
But it's not
But
only black people. It's for
but
dark
colorism,
skinned
but
people.
colorism, dark skinned people like who? I mean,
Like
I don't
there's
see anyone else. Like I don't give a
Indian,
fuck
they're Indian,
about.
Indian people. There's a problem with Indian people. They're the darker skinned Indian people. They're on the social caste. They're on the bottom, so they bleach their skin. A lot of them bleach their skin. The
Then
darker
now you're
Asian,
talking
South
about
Asian,
Indian.
they bleach their
But see,
skin.
that's a problem with that, and that's you just made my
No,
point.
but what I'm trying to
You
tell
you
you,
took
it
you took
exists.
you took a conversation about structural racism to talking
But
about
that's
Indians.
structural. Isn't that
No, but
structural?
let me again.
If
You're
it's
not
around the
listening.
whole
You're
world,
not.
how is it not
I heard you. I
structural?
heard you. I heard you. I heard you. You took a conversation about structural racism to talk about Indians, right?
No, I'm
We're
giving you another example
no. When I know what
of
I'm
not
saying
only
is what
it
I'm
happens
saying
to
is
black
what I'm saying is
women.
what
It's not only a black
understand this.
woman issue.
Understand this. You're not educating me or the brother on the panel about racism, right? Giving us another anything. We know the whole gamut more than most, all right? So what I'm saying is, but the conversation has been moved away from more substantive talk about racism to talk about Indians. We shouldn't even be talking about
No,
Indians
oh,
in
sir,
this
I just brought
conversation.
them as an example to
There
explain to
no, but
you.
it's a watered down example of and it doesn't lend to giving a proper perspective on the depth of what really racism. If someone listened in, right? The point is someone listened in and like, oh, they're talking about Indians. They really wouldn't, and they just heard your point. They really wouldn't get an understanding of, and if they needed to be educated about racism, they really wouldn't get a proper
Hey,
understanding.
I'm
Hey,
not
hey, hey,
gonna
but
answer. This is retarded. That's just indigenous TV. Whatever. My point is, the point was, you
Uh,
guys are saying it doesn't. It's just a black woman issue, and that's why I brought up the South Asians, just to tell you that it's not only a black woman issue. That's the only reason why I brought it up. Not to say that it's their problem. Just to say it's a. I'm saying it's a comprehensive issue. It's not only a black woman issue.
but it's
And
not
when
even
we
an issue though. It's not
okay,
even an
well,
issue, is what we're
if you
saying.
don't want to acknowledge that it's an issue, that's fine.
here's the
It's
thing.
fine,
Here's
but
the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Why are we getting heated? Because and
we're
try
not
to
getting
present it. No, no,
we're
no,
not
no, no.
getting heated. I'm just
Let
saying
me
that he's
explain.
okay.
Let me explain. Why the fuck would I be concerned about a South Asian experiencing
No,
colorism? Like,
okay. You guys are trying to be disingenuous. What I'm trying to say to the point is, it's not only a black woman issue, because you guys keep making it say it's a black woman issue, it's a black woman issue, it's a black woman issue, and my point was it's not only a black woman issue. That's my only point for bringing them up. Okay, so that's why I was saying
who
that.
care? But what group of people care more about fixing colorism though?
I think
Or
everybody should care about it.
no, no, no.
It's
Who
not only
care? Who actually cares? Not who should. Like it. Like I hear. Like I said, I've never heard a complaint about colorism from an Asian woman. I've never heard it from a Native American. I've never heard it from a
because
from a
well,
Middle Eastern.
You've never heard it from a black
are
man.
you intimately speaking to those type of women, Kevin? Let's speak
Are
in real. Do
you?
you?
Are
Yes,
you?
I do. Because I'm Caribbean. There's a lot of Caribbeans are not only black people. There's other races that are Caribbean people, and I'm very know a lot of Indian and South Indian descent people who have
You know
issues with it
why?
as well.
Because they've adopted the same BS, because they bought into the black culture that dominates the Caribbean, and they bought into the same weird black female anxiety insecurity mindset that
Okay,
already was there.
it's not only black female. Let's acknowledge that it's
I
not
said
only
they
black
bought. I
female.
said they bought into it. You're not
Okay.
listening to the words. I said they bought into what was existing through black women. They didn't bring it. They bought into it. That what black women gave them through black culture. They adopted black culture.
This
Usually
preceded.
when these people come to the Caribbean, they
Hmm.
buy more into the black culture than
Okay.
anything else. And so they adopt that same fear, anxiety, and insecurity about colorism that was there. Of course,
Explain
yeah.
this has preceded this social internet thing. This was before the internet. This is
I'm
an
not talking about
issue
the
way
internet.
before the internet spreading the black culture.
I'm
So
not talking about
this
the
has been
internet. I
going on
know.
for
I'm talking about when they
decades
come
and
to
decades.
live. I'm talking about when they come to live
Well,
there.
well, if
When
you
they
do your
move
research, if you do your research
when they
in
move
India
there.
and these other countries, you see that
When
they
they
have an
move
issue,
there.
and it's
I'm
not
in
only a
agreement
black
with you.
culture, black woman
I'm in agreement with you.
corrupting them or
I'm
whatever
not
you're
just
saying.
talking about social media. I'm talking about when they come to live there, right? If you're not clear about what I'm saying, ask me. I'm just not talking about social media. I'm saying when they come to live in the Caribbean, they adopt a lot of the colorisms that exist with black women. They adopt a lot of the cultural BS that's there. They take that on. They take on a lot of BS that's going on in the Caribbean that they weren't doing in their country before they got there.
Green. Green. I got a question for you. What is your perceived problem of colorism? Since you say and I'm not saying like whose thing it is or a group of people. What are the problems that you perceive that are the results of said colorism?
I think, first of all, I think there's a lot of anti-blackness in our culture, and people don't want to acknowledge that there's a lot of
We got
anti-blackness.
that. Give an example of what is the problem of how it plays out practically, is what he's saying.
Okay, for instance, well, before I was gonna bring up the issue when it deals with black boys and black men, you cut me off. What I was saying is there's a study that shows
No, I didn't
that.
cut you off. Don't bring up the
Okay,
study
all
again.
right,
You don't even
okay,
have the
idiot.
study to even prove that's a thing.
No,
Because
because I wanted to use.
I'm telling you, I'm well studied about the problems with black males. I've never come across a study that you're saying where they did between light skinned black men going to jail and dark skinned black.
Yes, and
I've
it
never
showed
seen that.
that
But
darker skinned
you're gonna
black
have to
males
present
got a
that.
worse
You're gonna have to
sentence.
present that. We just can't take your
I
word on
will
that.
get the
But
study for you. I don't. I'm at work,
outside
so
of
I.
that, outside of
Mhm.
that, you already said that. We don't want you to repeat that. Is the point? Give something else other than you talking about an issue that you don't know nothing. You don't have know nothing. You're from the Caribbean. You don't know nothing about what's going on with black males. Tell me from your experience, what do you know about how colorism is such a terrible thing in your life as a black woman?
Like I see with the skin bleaching, I personally experience a lot of people, a lot
Skin
of black
bleaching.
females bleaching their skin, and a lot of reasons why they bleach their skin because they feel that if they're lighter, they get more attention from men, and men like them better when they're lighter skin. I've seen it in my life.
But
So
that's just
people on this panel,
stupidity. That's just stupidity.
okay, well, I'm just that's going on. That's happened.
No, but
That's an
we're
issue.
talking about something that's outside of your control, right? Meaning colorism is impeding upon your life and causing you some harm, not you doing harm to yourself. He already said that. He said that. He's not saying what your stupidity, what you do to yourself. How has
Listen,
colorism outside of you done something to you for you
well,
to be
okay,
concerned
so you
about it,
don't. So women
and to
don't
make
need
a
validation,
PSA
right?
saying that everyone else should be? You're telling us that we should. The point is, you're telling us we should be concerned about it, and you're not selling us.
No,
That's
no,
the
no. I
point.
didn't say. I said you guys have to. You guys don't want to acknowledge it. You're saying that it's just a
That's what
women
I'm saying.
problem.
You're
You don't
trying to
care.
convince us,
All
and you're
right.
not giving any proper
Okay.
examples.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'm not. I mean, that's my point was just to come up and say, as a female,
Uh,
that the females I speak to and the females that do acknowledge it, they do acknowledge that there is an issue for them. Now, like I said, if you want to say that it's not an issue where from black males, okay, then all right. I can't. I'm not gonna
That's what I'm
argue
saying.
that.
You can't argue that.
Okay. I'm just saying that females do experience it, and they feel like it's an issue for them.
But black females experience a lot of BS that they imagine and blow out of proportion in this culture. I mean, in the Caribbean and here. Does that mean that we should pay attention to it?
And like I said, people bleaching off their skin with all these toxic chemicals doing to stuff to their skin
I said,
is an issue.
should we pay attention to it? I don't know. No, none of us are paying attention to a dumb broad who's bleaching her skin. We're not concerned
But
about that.
why does she? What I think she's saying is, why does she bleach her skin? Is she bleaching her skin for other people, or does she is she bleach her skin because she sees her own dark skin as being perceived as black, as a bad thing? I
Mhm.
don't care who has said, like, well, this is like, I'm not saying that everybody should have this attitude, but as far as me being talked about as a dark skinned person, I never thought about wanting to bleach my skin
I
in
don't want
order
to
to
bleach my
get
skin
the
either, but
approval.
people feel like that because you're lighter, you get more attention, you get
No,
better.
but see that's the
That's how
thing.
they feel.
You're conflating something. So wanting to be white and colorism are two different things. And unless you are in that person's head, you can't say that they're bleaching their skin because they just want to be light.
That's what I'm just telling you. What they
What
tell.
I'm telling you, you're not in their head, and you just can't take their word for it. Because first of all, they're already not in their right minds in the first place, and the fact that you would even believe what they're saying, as an accurate measure of
Okay,
what's
so
going on with them
the bleaching
psychologically.
the bleaching
And
industry.
I'm telling you, you're just asking questions. You're making suggestions, but I'm telling you, right? What we do know is that black people want to be white. We know that for sure, right? That's been proven over generations and generations. But for you to stop with light skin and dark skin, right? And not even acknowledge that a lot of these people want to become white, it seems like you're being more disingenuous because you're not even
I'm
bringing up the idea that black people want to be white.
Listen.
You're not even considering that
I
at
said
all.
anti-blackness, and I just say anti-blackness.
No, colorism and anti-blackness are two different things.
I think it goes hand in hand. I think it
No,
goes
it's
hand in
not.
hand.
It doesn't. It doesn't go hand in hand. It doesn't go hand in hand. You're conflating it, and a lot of
Okay,
black
well,
women conflate it.
all
But it
right, Ian.
doesn't.
I mean,
Racism, and colorism are two different things.
well,
Far
colorism is
beyond.
a form of racism, sir. It's a form of racism. What's the definition of colorism?
But the colorism means that somebody outside of you, that means some light-skinned people are imposing their will, right?
No, that's
Either
not
no,
not the
don't
definition of
say no.
colorism.
You don't have to be emotional. Let's be
I'm
intellectually.
not being
You're
emotional. I'm
saying,
asking. You're
so
not telling me the correct
let
definition,
me
though.
finish what I'm saying. It's not a no in the middle of what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, if we're equating racism and colorism, racism means that there's an outside force that's imposing either physically, emotionally, or mentally, right, beyond your control onto you. So then, if colorism is equating to racism, that means there's some light-skinned people, right, who are imposing upon dark-skinned people, either emotionally, mentally, or physically, right? And unless you can prove that there are light skinned people who are imposing on dark skinned people, right, in a large scale, right, you cannot say that is here, right?
Sir, Mr. Ian, dark skinned people could be colorists as well.
I'm
So
not saying about,
you're not
we're
understanding the whole
talking about
concept of
facts.
colorism.
We're not
You're
talking
saying
about
it's light skin,
possibilities.
light skin. It's not only light
You're
skin.
talking
That's not the concept.
possibilities. I'm talking facts.
Okay. Well,
Where are the light skinned people, right, in large amounts, right,
mm-mm.
who are imposing either
That's not
mentally,
the issue.
emotionally, or
That's not what.
if you're equating it with racism, because that's
Oh
what racism
gosh,
is.
you're
That's what
okay.
racism is. Racism means that you have the power to
Okay.
impose your will emotionally, mentally, or physically upon someone else. If you're equating the two, and you told me that you're equating the two,
I said it's a form of racism.
you're equating the two, that means, again, that means that there's someone outside of you that's imposing their will mentally, emotionally, or physically. So what I'm saying is you're taking the conversation away, because when we want to, because we're in such a state here, we don't want to go into, you know, things where there is not being a will imposed either physically, emotionally, or mentally. We don't want to even get into that conversation, because
Okay.
we're still trying to deal with structural racism.
Okay.
And you're talking about Indians, and you're talking about the skin
No,
bleaching.
I just brought up the Indian to tell you that it's not only a black woman issue. That's the only reason why I brought up the Indian.
But I'm
Just to
but
say
and
that
I
it's
told
not a
you,
only black woman issue.
where do they
Because you keep saying
where
it's
do
only
they get
black
that
women.
from? They get it from, but they get it from black women is the point.
Okay.
They get it from black
Okay,
women.
Ian, before you
They get
continue,
it from
do
black
you know
women.
what's the definition of colorism? What's the definition of colorism?
I don't deal with colorism. I only deal with racism, right? That's
Okay, well,
you don't think
the
you're an
definition of
entitled,
colorism, so
that
we
means
are
you're an
clear what we're
entitled
talking about.
individual. You're an entitled individual,
I'm
right?
not entitled.
If we're living in a world where racism is destroying and killing people, right? And you take the time out to turn your head and say, "Oh, really? I'm not worrying about the white man really doing what he's doing." To have a whole discussion about colorism, you are an entitled individual, right? I don't have the luxury to sit down and have long conversations about something, right? Where light-skinned people are not imposing their will
Okay,
through
sir, I
physical
think
means, mental or emotional means, when I'm dealing with racism, and that
okay.
is being done where
Ian, I think
white
the
people's
issue
will
is
is
you're
being
making it
imposed.
a you're just saying light skin, light skin, light skin.
That's colorism.
Dark skinned people could be colorists as well. It's not only light skinned people.
But you know,
You're not understanding the definition.
and I'm
Let
telling
me give you
you,
the
I've
definition. So you have
experienced it. No,
okay.
but I've experienced it. But
Yes, light skinned people get
but do you
experience
think it's
colorism
not
as
yes?
well.
It's not yes. I'm not in agreement with you. I've experienced it. But do you think I'm going to go anywhere and start having conversations about it? Hell no.
But that's the discussion. We're having that.
That's
This is
not
the
no.
heavy
The
discussion.
discussion is how stupid it is. That's the
Okay.
discussion.
let me, because
That's
just
the
for the audience,
discussion.
because
That's the discussion.
your definition
The
of
discussion
colorism is
is how
not
stupid it is, and you have not
okay.
proven that it's not
Okay, the
stupid.
definition of colorism is prejudice or
No, we don't
discrimination
care.
against
We
individuals
don't
with a
care.
darker
We
skin
want you
tone,
to prove
typically
it.
amongst people of the same ethnic or racial
Yes,
group.
okay, again, we
So
want you
dark
to
skinned people
prove.
do exhibit colorism as
We
well. It's
want
not
you
only
to
light
prove
skinned
that it's
people.
important enough to talk about.
Well, it's this topic of this discussion.
No, no, outside of black women, outside of black women,
Oh
outside of
Lord have
black women,
mercy.
outside of black women, prove
Lord,
why we
yo,
should have a discussion with it. Because black
Ian.
women are the only ones who talk about it.
Okay, Ian, since
That's
black
why
woman
you're
is the
trying
only
to
one
talk
who
about
talking
it
about
here.
it, I already proved to you black woman is not the only one who talk about it,
No,
but you
you
want to keep
didn't.
saying
You
that.
didn't
But
prove anything. You didn't prove
all right, Ian.
anything.
We cool, we
You
good.
didn't.
This
You only
discussion
pro-
is not going anywhere. It's just circular.
you only prove that people adopt black women's
They've been doing it before. Listen,
uh,
the bleaching thing,
uh
it's decades.
where
Decades.
where
These bleaching all over
where
Google it. Google the bleaching
no, I
company
said
and see
no,
much money they
you're
make
telling
all
me
over
and
the
I'm
world.
asking you
So if it's only a black person thing,
where. I'm not going to Google it. You're telling me. Tell me where.
Ian, my
You're telling
Ian.
me and I'm saying where.
It's we're having a circular argument, and I'm
No,
just
I just
telling
asked
you.
you a circular argument. Me
Yeah,
asking you a
because you
question.
keep. I'm trying to tell you
No,
that
I
it's
just
not
asked you
only black
where.
women, and
I
you're
just
telling
asked
me
you
no.
where. I just asked you where. You said Google. No, I'm
I
asking
told you,
you where.
you listen. It's not only a black woman argument, okay? Just for this
But you're not proving
conversation.
anything just by your own words.
Oh
You
God,
have
of
to have facts.
Lord of mercy, Ian.
You have to
You could
have
just Google
facts.
skin bleaching cream, right?
No, I'm not going to Google it.
Okay, then
That's
don't Google it.
stupid.
But my point is, it's not only black women talking about
It
colorism.
is.
That's my
It is
point.
only black women.
No,
It
it's not.
is.
It's not
Who
only
else
black
is?
women.
Who
That's
else is?
inaccurate.
Who else
And
is?
that's
Who else is?
inaccurate.
Who
All
else is?
right. Okay, guys. Okay. Okay. We got Andre Lewis up here. What's going on? What's going on? You got the floor.
I'm I'm kind of confused, man. Now, I mean, stuff going all over the place. I mean, that really is. We all over the place. We didn't. I don't even know what we're talking about.
No, we're not talking about nothing.
We're talking about this movie,
We're not talking about nothing
colorism in
at
this
all.
movie.
She wants to tell us to believe in colorism, and I don't believe it.
All right, then, Ian, it's cool. We cool. We cool.
Okay, Andre. Let's start here. Let's start with the narrative of colorism. I used the movie The Harder They Fall as the basis for this conversation. My thing is that if colorism is a problem, it is a bigger problem for the light skinned individuals than it is for the dark skinned individuals. Some people agree, some people don't. But when you think of your archetypal black person, you're always going to think of a dark skinned person. You're not going to think of a light skinned person. And this topic is kind of a hot button for some people.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
For women, it is. Let's be specific.
Right.
For women, it is.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, man, let me take time to shout out my habitual line stepper brother Donnie. He's in the house from YES4W. He says skin bleaching cream is major in Asia. Snail white is all over the place. They even have an ad where they bleach a black man into an ideal looking Asian man. Ooh. So, go ahead. Go ahead, Andre.
So are you? I mean, what I'm trying to understand what we talking about. So are you dealing with the way the casting of the movie? I mean, with the from the actual person to the. I mean, I'm trying to still understand what what the topic is really
Well, the
about.
question is, why did they even take the time out to write an article about one actor in the whole film that's not the tone as the actual person? The only one, right? And
Mm.
another guy, they got a darker person, and the person was lighter. But now they got one character that's lighter than the original photo of the person, and they wrote a whole argument about it, and want to tear the movie apart. Want to tear the movie apart.
Well, you know how that go, man. They're gonna find something to bitch about. We can't even have a black movie that. I mean, because the movie was great. We can't even. We're not gonna have nothing without that. I mean, that's never not gonna happen. Somebody's gonna find a reason to, like I say, complain about it, find something negative about it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and believe me, it's not black men that are behind the article. You know, that's spending their time. You know what I'm saying?
Man, so yeah, because I get your point, and I get it. I mean, honest, because she was proving your point.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand where she comes from. I'm not saying where she, where she was raised and stuff. I understand why she feels that way, but like I said, it was everything was all over the place, and because I was trying to fit, because I came in late, like I came in just before she started talking, and I couldn't understand what the hell was what y'all, I had to look up colorism just to actually, okay, am I on the same page? Are they talking about what I was always believe what colorism was? I mean, so
Yeah.
and I'm just trying to get back on topic.
And I was just saying in response to her that for me as an ADOS man, coming up under the structural racism here,
Hmm.
the concept of colorism is never going to be on the menu for me. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we have structural racism to deal with.
Right. Because because it's really not. Is it race? It's not really not racism, is it? If you're dealing with race, because can you be racist, truly racist against your own race? That's the thing.
Right.
You understand? I understand. I guess prejudice or whatever, but be racist against your own. You can't do that's like an oxymoron. As you can't. I don't know.
Right. You can.
We talking about colorism. We talking about colorism, and like back in the '80s and stuff. The light skinned brothers, and here, I don't know if she knows, but back here, the light skinned brothers was the thing, But
Right.
now,
The dark skinned men
now,
is in. The
but
dark
now,
skin
yeah, but
in.
now, right now, it's totally the opposite, just about now. So,
But I'm saying, but that's nothing to have a long, drawn out conversation about. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a focus on a different hue, don't mean that light skinned men ain't still getting it in, and don't mean
oh
that
yeah, they
dark
almost
skinned
definitely,
men.
especially when they pretty boy,
Yeah,
they getting it in. But right,
the same goes for dark skinned men.
Oh,
Is still getting
okay.
it in regardless too.
I just want to say this. In the U.S., skin bleaching made $8.6 billion in the U.S. in 2020.
Because they got
Just so
immigrants
you
over
know.
here. That's why.
Hey guys, good night. How's everybody doing?
good. How you doing?
Yeah, what's going on?
Good,
Hey,
doing good.
we got some new folks on the panel. We got Truth Teller, we got the nameless protagonist, and of course we got my habitual line stepper brother Donnie from YS4W. So long live the habitual line steppers. So
Whoop, whoop.
all right,
So
so
I have some knowledge of some of what I was just talking about regarding the bleaching cream and all that. So part of my family is from the Caribbean. That's heavy down there. Other part of my family is actually FBA from here. So and I've actually researched it, so I definitely know it's FBA versus ADOS. But in any case, in my opinion, colorism is only something ugly people have a problem with.
Bam.
Bam.
yeah,
Dark skin attractive people don't have a problem with colorism.
That's
Light
it.
skin attractive
Look
people
at
don't
Idris
have a
Elba.
problem.
He's a perfect example.
Yeah, it's only unattractive people that have a problem with colorism, and they don't want to acknowledge, hey, I might not be as attractive as some of these other people who are lighter.
That's it.
So now, also, you check this. So I'm a twin. I have a twin brother. I'm light skinned. My twin brother, fraternal twin brother, is dark skinned.
Mhm.
Well, not dark. He's brown. Let's say
Mhm.
that. So I've seen it. Some of my family members are brown. Some of my family members are light. So this whole colorism thing, I just think it's just an excuse because they're not getting the attention they think they should be able to
Right.
get, and they just need to drop it on something that they think everybody will believe. Colorism is nonsense because an attractive dark skinned person don't got no issue.
No
And
Man,
issues.
say
as
that.
men, listen, I don't know no black dude who's gonna turn down a pretty dark skinned chick because she's not light.
It
That's
never happened.
ridiculous.
Exactly.
It never
That's
happened.
ridiculous. It's never gonna happen.
Nope.
If she's pretty, she getting the love. It's that simple.
Exactly.
She getting it.
Most definitely.
Yeah, this is always an interesting conversation, I think, because 90% of the time when you hear these conversations, it comes from women. It's never men bringing up this whole colorism argument. It's really women, and I think that shit stems from when they were children, and these women with the little girls would tease and call them dark and all this. That shit
Yeah,
stuck with them forever,
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
they get
think that's about right. Yeah.
You don't
yeah,
even.
and they
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think they take this shit to heart, and it
They
affects
do.
them personally. These women don't dress themselves up in the manner that quote unquote light skin dress themselves up. Light skinned women will go out and go put on these pretty outfits and everything else. The darker skinned women have a stigma, so they don't want to put it on. It's kind of like a fat person. Fat person is walking around in certain clothes trying to hide their belly, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
can, even if you fat, you can still go out and be stylish. Motherfucker, you don't see a fat stylish person too often, but when you do, you're like, that motherfucker is on point. Nobody's ever gonna talk about, you know what I'm
Donnie,
Exactly.
saying?
stop. What?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
true.
saying.
Donnie, come
And
on.
It's
dark skinned
true.
women have this stigma to where they walk around and they feel, oh, well, he won't talk to me because I'm not light skinned. No, bitch, it's because you look funky. You look a little muscular.
Donnie's
Your your
I
your
can't with
outfit
Donnie. Donnie's a joke.
got some wrinkles in it. You look a little crazy. And the light skin was walking around like everything is sweet. It's all in themselves. It's what is that? What do they call it? Body dysmorphia.
mm, yeah, yeah.
Motherfuckers see themselves a
Oh,
certain type of way and they project it in their energy.
Can
Pretty
you guys
dark
hear me?
skinned women don't have this problem whatsoever.
Nope.
Can you guys hear
Yeah.
me?
I mean, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So, first off, to the chat and to the folks on the panel,
Salute.
Oos. Oos.
But
so there's a few things I wanted to say about this, and I wanted to make sure most people were saying what they wanted to get out about that, so I didn't have too much overlap. But like I said in the chat, as it pertains to the Ados tribe, most of this, the epicenter of this is with Black women, period. But there needs to be some context because there's too many things being talked about. Number one, this is a reciprocal action directly related to white supremacy as it's practiced in the West, period. If you want more information on this, all anyone has to do is take a look and study the myth of white womanhood. It takes you all the way back to the Daughters of the Trade. Where you had these women in these slave port towns that were having matriarchal families, and the children that they were having were creating a whole new buffer class from the slave traders that were coming in from Europe. That's the origin of this mindset as it's understood in the West, in particular in the United States and Canada, period. But when you start getting into the global context of this conversation, there is a Western conversation to be had in the West's perception of dominating what I'm going to call the halo effect. If anyone is not familiar with the halo effect, please do a Google search, look up the halo effect. It is a form of cognitive bias where certain characteristics are directly attributed to being positive. And as a result of this, it changes the way you have a self-perception. It changes the way other people see you, and you are given an intrinsic value that may outscale your actual value. And a lot of this has to do with good old-fashioned colonialism and Christianity being presented as the spearhead for that colonialism. Because white has been made synonymous with not just pure, but with God. And as a result, you're going to have a psychological fallout where people on a subconscious deep level associate all of those characteristics with overtly positive traits and characteristics, even if this individual is a monster. So a lot of what we're experiencing is the dual side effect of the halo effect and the golem effect. And in the Black community, we've had 400 years of psychological reinforcement of this fact. It's not going to disappear overnight. It's done through passive perception. It's done through having, quote, beauty shops. You can just run down the whole classic pro-Black self-hate conversation. That is the result of that. And it's baked into the definition of Black in this country. But as the observations of individuals on the panel has really suggested and continues to suggest, at the end of the day, we don't give a damn about that. An
Thank you.
attractive woman is an attractive woman. In fact, most of us have a preference for darker skinned women, which is kind of ironic. But we would
My
rather
wife does.
deal with somebody that has characteristics that have nothing to do with what we look like if the behavior is cooperative, which takes us all the way back to an old conversation that's happened in the sphere. Our issue with black women, and I'm digressing slightly, but I just wanted to tie this up and I'll go ahead and pass it, is not with the way you look by virtue of your skin color or the intrinsic characteristics you were born with. It's the fact that you are out of, usually if you've got a weight issue and your attitude, that's it. If you can fix those two things, which are definitely within your ability to do that, you will find most of these women do not have problems. Not the same way. They don't. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I think a lot of the perspective and the way these colorism articles are coming out, most of them are being animated by the dominating force in the black community right now, the political arm of the gynocracy, which is intersectional feminism. And it's the intersectional feminists that are going out of their way to turn the colorism combination or concept and conversation into a way to blame black men all over again and then shame white people.
Yes.
It's weird. It's weird, but it's a very common
Man, you
characteristic.
stepping
Yeah.
on some toes now. Ouch,
Yeah.
ouch, ouch. Man.
Hey,
It is
let me,
very weird. They don't take into account our opinion, but yet we get judged for doing this when we don't really care. But yeah, I'm sorry. I cut somebody off.
No, you good, fam. That's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah. Well, and I want to piggyback because, my ex-wife was from Jamaica, right? And I don't know, maybe she was brown. She was a little lighter brown or whatever. But the idea of colorism, like I said, I'm not just speaking from, just conjecture. Like I said, I've been around Caribbeans and Africans and, so I know what it is. But as what he said, the cooperation level, a lot of times when you're talking about a darker skinned female, the cooperation level, because of her level of insecurity, right, causes her not to be as feminine as a brother would like. So the perception might be that it's colorism. We might not want you from your color, but because of black women are so not unaware, they're not self-aware as they should be, they don't realize how they're coming across, right? Because like even in the conversation with the sister here, she doesn't realize. So she thinks that somehow she's a more dominant person than me, right? Because of her gender, she just thinks she's more dominant. I'm asking for facts, and she thinks somehow because of her dominance, somehow she can win an argument with me. And it's not that I have a problem with her. I just had a problem with her thinking that she can dominate a conversation without including any facts whatsoever.
Isn't that
You know
most
what I'm
women
saying?
though? Isn't that most women?
Okay,
I mean,
But
I've seen that
so
from
Ian,
light
am I
skinned
not
Y'all
girls. I've seen
dominant to
that.
Y'all
you?
wow.
I don't
Ian,
understand that, Ian, because I'm not dominant to you. Why? I've never said that I was
Uh oh.
dominant to you. I am not dominant to you. Is what, 5 males on the panel and there's one female? How can I be dominant when I'm the only female here? Come
See,
on.
that's
There
what
you
Kevin
go.
I
Samuels
say
be
you
saying. You
intercede.
I can't be dominant. There's
Of
no
course you
way.
can.
Okay.
yeah, masculinity. You women bring out the man like Kevin Samuels. Put your dick up. You keep bringing your dick out, and that's what's going on
Wow.
now. You
hey,
can't even.
hey, hey,
I'm
hey,
sorry.
hey, guys, don't be rude to
Yeah,
Kareem,
yeah.
No,
man.
no,
Don't,
no.
Listen,
I'm not
don't.
saying it to her.
I.
I'm saying
It's
that's why
okay
I
to
understand
have.
why Kevin Samuels says that. I'm not saying it to her. I'm not trying to be
Okay.
respectful, but I understand why Kevin Samuels says that. Because at first I
Okay.
used to be like, "Whoa, why is he saying
My
that?"
my my
But I
point is
understand why. He's talking about bringing out your masculinity,
my
and
point is
you're doing that now.
we're having a discussion,
Let
right?
me.
And
Oh.
I'm the person who don't agree with you. So if I don't agree with you, it's okay not to agree with you. We're having a
Yeah, that's
discussion.
fine.
It doesn't have to get crazy like that. We're having a
No,
discussion.
I'm just saying I didn't say that to be rude. I'm just saying I understand now why he says that. Just
Kareem,
by being in this
Can
conversation and
I ask
listening
the
to
young
you.
lady a question?
But Kareen is not as bad as a lot of these in here, man. You
No,
know, she
she's
she
Yeah,
not.
has a difference of opinion, man. But you know, it's like we don't have to go there with her.
Well,
Like, here's my thing: I implore to go there with a female that deserves that shit. And Kareen is not one of them, man. I mean, everybody has their opinions or whatever, and that's the only thing she's trying to say. She ain't got to agree with us at
so
all.
Yeah,
Kareem, did you
I want to
But
understand
at
know
the
what
what
I
her
same
was?
perspective
time,
was.
at the
I want
same
to know what
time,
her
like
perspective on something was.
the protagonist said, it leads into blaming black men instead of blaming white supremacy. That's where we have to put our foot down with her, because we can't allow her to propagate this without attaching it to white supremacy. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, that's what these conversations are for. You know, we hash out these things.
yeah.
Uh,
That's it's conversation, Ian. We having a conversation.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
still talking.
dominating you.
I'm still talking.
I take
I'm
offense
good.
in that you're saying I was
I'm
dominating you because I wasn't.
I'm
You're the one
good.
who's saying I'm wrong,
I'm just making a point. I'm
and
good.
people
Uh,
are agreeing with you. So how can I dominate when everyone is agreeing with
I'm
you and
good.
everyone is
I'm
against me?
agreeing with
That's not
facts.
domination. How
So
can
all
I
right,
Kareem,
kids.
dominate?
I got a question
Kareem,
for you.
Kareem, did
Yeah,
you
I have a question
understand?
as well.
Kareem, did you understand what I was saying when I was trying to break that point down?
Oh,
Because I wanted to
I hear
acknowledge the
you.
points
I
you
hear
brought
you.
up.
The protagonist. Oh, well.
Yeah,
Kid.
I just wanted to make
yo,
sure.
yo, Donnie, what's up? What's up, Donnie?
So with that article, did you by chance look up the woman who wrote that article? Because I'm sure it was a woman.
I didn't. You know what they do with these articles these days when they have these narratives? Oh, wait a minute. I'm glad you said that. Hey, let me share the screen real quick.
To me, it seems like they were intersectionalists that wrote that.
Intersection.
Yeah, somebody need to mute up. Somebody got me on in the back. I can hear myself.
That's me.
Uh,
My bad.
okay. It was written by Gavia Baker Whitelaw.
Can we pull up maybe an image of her and see what she
It's
looks
right
like?
there.
Because I'm willing. Oh, you
I'm
pulled it
telling you,
up?
it's an intersectional feminist. I guarantee you.
I'm curious if she's light skinned. I doubt it.
No, it's probably gonna be a white chick or a white dude. Promise you.
Here we go. Gavia Baker Whitelaw. She's white.
Okay,
She is a
there you
staff
go.
writer at the Daily Dot covering geek culture and fandom.
Wow.
Ooh, and she says some
Wow.
colorism shit.
Now, this
Is
is
she at
why I
least
said,
fucking a
but
nigga?
this is why I said this is an intersectional feminist talking point now because they've co-opted that conversation, which is why again they're the main ones spearheading this and hitting the reversal card to flip it on black men as to being the root of all of this crap
Yep.
on some color purple nonsense.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
Mm-mm. That's a damn
Yep.
I
shame.
wanted
I
to
mean,
ask the young lady
look
on the
at look
panel
at
a
look at the
question if I
movie
could.
Harriet Tubman. I mean, look at the movie Harriet Tubman. I mean, there was a white woman that co-wrote it with an LGBT feminist chick, black LGBT
An
feminist chick, and
intersectional feminist.
yeah, they made and they were even questioned about it. Why did you make this black man the main evil person chasing the black woman in the period of slavery? Of all the things you could write about and make a movie about with Harriet Tubman, you make it about a black man trying to kill a black woman. You understand what
which
I'm saying?
didn't which was not that wasn't even a real character. It's completely fictional.
Yeah,
You already know what
What
it
was the
is, man.
nigga's name? He was bigger, longer, some goofy
bigger
shit.
long.
Big
Yeah,
along.
Yeah.
big along. Yeah,
Wow.
On
yeah.
that
Big and
note,
long,
fam,
huh?
let me go ahead and throw my smoke bomb. I'm out, fam. Y'all have a good night. God damn.
I
We
do
need
want to ask
we
the
need a
young lady a question. Have you ever experienced colorism, and if so, from who?
Um, I don't. I. To me, when I was growing up as a kid, I would see how they would prefer the light skin growing up in the 90s, and I grew up in the
Who's
U.S.
they?
Although I'm Caribbean, I grew up in the U.S. in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York. I saw how they treated the light skin
Who's they?
girls in high school, in
I
elementary
understand, but
school,
who's
middle
they?
school.
Men, girls, boys? Who?
The boys, mainly the girls too. The girls are like it too. The girls do it too. It's not only, that's why I said he wanted to make it only a light skin thing. Black,
Well, no,
dark
no.
skin
So they
people do it
treat
as
they
well.
treated the light skinned girls better. How did they treat the dark
Dark
skinned
skin
girls?
girls do it as well. I'm just trying to explain to you. It's not only a light skin versus like dark skin people don't do it. Dark skin people do it as well. Dark skin mom,
But what are
dark
they
skin,
doing though? Is what the
Yeah, what are
point?
they
they
doing?
What are they doing?
they prefer the lighter skinned girls. in
It's
school.
preference. They didn't
They
actually
pick the
do
lighter
anything
skinned
to them.
girls. They date the lighter skinned girls growing up. I mean, that's just how it is.
How did lighter
Of
skinned
course,
girls look?
I'm not ugly, so of
Hold on,
course I
hold on,
got
hold on. Let her
preference.
finish it. Let her finish.
But
Keep it.
I want to
they
get
Wait.
to
Keep
that
do.
stay
too.
in the
You beat
same
me to
line. Keep it.
it.
Get her the
I'm
answer.
just
Get the
talking my
answer.
Yeah,
experience. You ask
Get her
me,
the answer.
I'm answering you.
Yeah,
Just
let
let
her
me
answer.
answer
Let
and
her
stop,
answer.
like, because you guys want me to answer. Like, I'm trying to answer you
Yeah.
and tell you what's going on. That's how people. That's how the girls feel. You're picking. And we know that there's a guy that I know that he only dated the light skinned girls. He only picked the only light skinned girls. And for a fact, I know he did that, and because they were light skinned, they were cute, but they weren't like they were cute of the dark skinned girls that he could have picked, and he only picked the light skinned
But
girls.
his question
So,
was, what was done to you, right?
yes, right.
What was done
Because
to
I
you?
bet you that guy was a pretty boy. If it might have been me, it'd been a different
It
story.
wasn't
I
a
bet
pretty.
you he was a
He was a
pretty
nice
boy,
looking
and I
guy,
bet
but
you it would
dark
have been
skinned.
me being dark skinned. You wouldn't care about me. You
You
probably
was
wouldn't
Dark
there.
even
skinned
remember
There
guy
you
was
me.
go.
dark skinned.
There
He
you
was
go.
dark skinned.
But I bet you he was a
well,
pretty athlete, or probably some pretty
Yeah, he was an
basketball,
athlete.
football
Well,
Yeah.
There
player.
you
hold on,
go.
hold
Honey,
See, that's
on.
why you
I
pretty.
don't think
care.
that
Oh,
even
you say
matters.
That's
pretty
why
Rick
you
is what
care.
they called him.
Right? He was a pretty
Which is
Ricky.
what they
Exactly,
called
He
Kevin.
wasn't pretty
He was
Ricky. He
a
was a dark,
he was
nice
a.
She
looking.
That's why
she she
that's why
passed she
she's pissed
passed
off.
up.
Because if it had been me not ignoring her
No,
and not caring
he
about her,
was
she
dark
wouldn't have gave
skinned.
a care.
An
He was
average
But wait,
nice.
black
I
He
want
was
to
guy.
just
tall,
clarify something with this.
slim.
Hey,
Because
calm down,
Dark skinned.
everybody. Calm down.
yeah, I
Let's not
want to
all
clarify.
talk at the same time. Truth teller, and then we got Black Uru up here.
So,
oh,
from what you're telling me, it's their preference that
Okay.
felt like it was making darker skinned women feel
Okay.
degraded. But was there any
Yes.
actions against dark skinned women or girls?
I didn't grow up with the fighting thing or picking on you because you were dark skinned. I didn't grow up with that. I
Okay,
didn't see that. I know people
okay.
said they grew up like light skinned, they would beat up the light skinned girl. I didn't see that growing up. I see people fighting just to fight, but I never saw anything just because you was light skinned. But I did see the boys did pick the light skinned girls over the dark skinned girls. They did do that in high school and in middle school. So I grew
Okay.
up in
so
that. In the
let
90s,
me
that happened.
let me jump in because I know what she's talking about. I did see this, and I'm just gonna
I
put a
saw that. And
realistic.
people, for
I'm a,
y'all to say that they don't put them as preference, y'all lying. They do.
I'm gonna put a realistic perspective on this, right? So I remember in junior high school and high school there was darker skinned girls and there was some light skinned girls, right? The light skinned girls usually were prettier. The reason being is because we had a bunch of the dark skinned girls who already had a stigma, most likely from their mama, who came in there with their shit scraped back, didn't have a ponytail, looked crazy, and you had the lighter skinned girls that mama took care of their hair and shit like that. Those girls were pretty. And then you had some crustier looking dark skinned girls. It
Oh
wasn't
my
because they
God,
were dark
Donnie.
skinned, it was because the motherfuckers just wasn't kept up. I said this shit earlier. There's a preferential treatment that comes from their mama that it's just a I don't give a fuck attitude. It was one girl who was dark and she had green eyes. Everybody was chasing after her ass. She was blue, black, purple, right? Fine little motherfucker. To this day, I can look
Hmm.
back in my mind and be like, oh, she was cute with the little pedal pusher she had on and shit. The motherfucker was cute. The rest of the
Hmm.
girls, um, came to school with fucked up weaves in. Uh, we used to laugh at this one chick because it seemed like she had a weave in her head for like 6 months, the same weave. Bitch, what are you doing? Nobody picked her, not because she was dark skinned, it's because she looked musty.
There you go.
So when she grew up, she didn't see it as well, I didn't have my shit together. She saw it as was because I was dark skinned. Probably because her mama put that shit in her head.
Yeah.
And I can say on the vice versa, because I have some cousins that are light skinned. They went to school, they was getting picked on because dark skinned girls who were musty looking were mad at her because she was well kept and light skinned. So they put it on her being light skinned. They gave her hell. I
Hmm.
think a lot of this colorism shit comes from darker skinned women just wishing that they were light skinned. And it's really not what that should be. You want to be a white scenario, right? You run around, black women run around with emulating white women hair. They put in contacts, them goofy ass eyelashes,
Oh my
all
god, I
this
hate this shit.
all this stupid shit to make them look less of what they are, and that's black. So when typically you have a light skinned girl, what is she usually what mixed? If you have a light skinned woman, she's more or less mixed than the other girls. So she's gonna have straighter hair. All of this shit is the envy that builds up, and now it's all of a sudden a magical colorism thing. It's no. Wear your skin, make your shit look good, and you wouldn't have a problem. The problem is you. It's not a colorism issue. It's a you thing. And I'm not saying this towards Kareem or anything, because I don't even really know what Kareem looked like. But I'm just saying, in general, dark skinned women have an issue with lighter skinned women because they don't have they mother whooping their ass when they get home, talking about some stay your ass out the sun.
Karina, is that your picture with that smile? Some high cheekbones?
Yeah, that's my listen, I don't
So
I
why are you
my
sitting
point
here fronting
is
about this
Right, because
colorism
she's
thing?
a
You give
beautiful
a shit
woman. I
about
don't get
colorism.
it.
Yeah, you
I
see,
just
I don't understand.
I'm just saying women experience it. I know you guys don't want to don't want to acknowledge the issue. You're saying it's a black woman issue. Fine. My point is, if it didn't exist, there wouldn't be $1 billion industry, $8.6 billion in bleaching cream, 2020. That's not something that's just
I
only
mean,
black women. There's other
that's,
women
It,
that's
And I'm
making
still
cream.
gonna
OnlyFans is doing the
say,
same thing. Is
and
that men's
I'm
fault too?
and I'm still gonna say that's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But
You
it's an
know.
issue. But it's still an issue.
Hey,
That's
but
the
it,
point.
I did say Black Uru can speak about a second ago. So
All
all right,
right.
let's
go ahead, bro.
yeah, go ahead, Black Uru.
Hey, thanks for having me up on the panel, Kevin. I'm just enjoying the conversation, and um, you know, I, I, I guess the question I would ask Kareen and women who uh, who have similar thoughts that she appeared to be expressing here is, and I think I'm going to have a different view from maybe the men on the panel, because I do think colorism is a real thing. I do think there's a significant number and percentage of men, of black men, who prefer that their mates be of lighter hue. You know, I've lived long enough and I've seen enough and heard enough to know that to be true. But my perspective of that is, so what? You know, if a woman prefers a man who is 6'3" over the man who is 5'8", so what? If a woman prefers a man who makes $200,000 a year over the man who makes $40,000 a year, so what? She has a right, or they have a right to have those preferences. Likewise, a man who just happens to like and prefer women of a lighter hue or more quote Eurocentric end quote features, so what? You know, the phrase, to me, the phrase all's fair in love and war applies. And just as women, you know, black women are not shy, have not been shy about expressing their preferences that are often quite unkind towards the masses of black men, especially the economic ones, because few black men really even have any money. And black women are not shy about expressing their preference for the few black men who do have money, or the few black men who are 6'3" and over, or the few black men who, for example, have a 9-inch penis, for example. Black women aren't shy about expressing those preferences. So if a brother likes a light black, a light skinned woman, or a red bone, or yeah, I mean, I view it be the same way. And for darker skinned women, if that means that you all have to compete a little harder against the lighter skinned women, then it's just like the guy who's 5'9" has to compete a little harder against the guys who are 6'4". It's all the same. It's all fair in love and war.
There you go.
And there are lots of things that darker skinned sisters can do to tip the scales. And very often they refuse to do these things. And in
Yeah,
fact,
like the
they
gym.
actually assume a very sort of opposite sort of disposition, which I
Woo,
think is, as Donnie alluded to, make them even less appealing.
woo.
You know, look, if you're perceived to be less feminine because you're darker skinned, so what you're going to do, you're going to even act more masculine? Is
Right,
that the play? I mean, is
Right.
that the thing to do?
right,
No, you should act much more feminine. You know,
right.
I've seen darker skinned women be super feminine, super, they'll always wear the dresses. They'll always style themselves a certain way. They'll talk in a lighter tone to make them appear more feminine. Very effective, especially in the current environment, because all these chicks won't act like men. If a lot of darker skinned women just really assumed a more feminine, a more supple, a more complimentary disposition with men, you all could jump ahead of the line in a lot of different places. So,
Amen.
okay, so what? There's a certain number and percentage of brothers, and I don't think it's the majority, but there's a certain number and percentage of brothers who prefer light skinned than women. Oh well, the world ain't fair, life ain't fair. Get in where you can get, where you can fit in, assess yourself, what you have, what you don't have, and work like hell to maximize. If you got pretty eyes, or if you like Korean, you got high cheekbones. Those are all beauty markers as well. You got beautiful eyes. If you have a certain type of nose or whatever, accentuate your positives rather than blaming men for what they do or do not like. And the last thing I'll say, throughout my life, and I'm 60 years old, by far the biggest perpetuators of colorism I've seen all my life have been black women, much more so than black men. I mean, and I saw it from my, I remember, and it's my own mother. I was when I was first born, I was very light complected, and I remember one summer, I grew up in Chicago. I was born in Mississippi Delta. That's where my family's from. My mother's family. Well, my mother's and my father's family from Mississippi Delta, north central Mississippi. And I remember, I guess I had to have been 5 years old, spending some time with my grandmother in Mississippi during one summer. And I remember coming back home, and I remember my mother looking at me, and she was aghast at how much darker I was than when I went to stay with my grandmother. And my mother lamented that probably my whole life. I mean, every now and then she would look in we would look in like a photo album, and there'd be baby pictures of me, and she'll say, "Oh, this is a picture. My baby was so pretty back then before," and she would refer to it was 1966 or whatever when she said, "Me, I never should have sent you down in that summer and whatever." I mean, that was my own mother, and she lamented that like my whole. You had your skin was so pretty. I mean, all the people I saw who perpetuated colorism the most were women, were black women. I saw them pick favorites amongst their own children and grandchildren based on skin tone. So when I hear women, especially black women, bitch about colorism, I'm like, it's some very disingenuous stuff that black women pull on that issue. We all know, those of us who've been in their families and especially have seen generations after generations of black women know that it's black women more than anybody else who keep the colorism game going.
I mean, you made a great point when you said, I mean, God, man, that's probably the greatest point so far, where you said that black women almost feel like they're selling out when it is that they feel like, okay, you know what, I'm not getting chose, and I have an option. I have the option actually of beating some of these other chicks by being more feminine, and actually instead of being more feminine, like you said, I've seen it. They rebel and be like, okay, I'm become more masculine because I feel like I'm not gonna sell out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, oh, okay, then you're not gonna get chose.
But you'll see a few feminine, darker skinned women, and they'll own the room. They'll own the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why the majority of black women, because when black women are feminine, because black women are a little more agile, a little more graceful, a little more, uh,
Mhm.
rhythmical in their
Mhm.
movement and whatever. When a
Mhm.
sister is feminine, a white woman, dark white woman, light skin, can't hold a candle to
Can't
that.
compete. Can't compete.
Can't compete.
So, and but they know this. They know that they can put on some feminine charm and just clean up the room. Why don't they do it? Why do they instead
But
they
you know
sit there
when
and
you will
complain?
see it, Ian. You know when you will see it.
What's that?
You'll see it around a few white guys.
Yes. Oh yes.
You'll
There you
see
did.
around the white guy, maybe the manager at work,
I
or
got
you know what I
goosebumps.
mean. You'll
I got
you'll see it
goosebumps.
then,
I got
and at a
goosebumps.
banquet, you're at some kind of function, and they're there, and they're senior VP or whatever. You'll see them get very feminine
Mm-hmm.
then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? And then come back home and complain about colorism.
Hmm. But I'm not gonna say colorism don't exist, and I'm not gonna say it doesn't influence the mating choices of some black men. But like I said, I think there are things that darker skinned women can do to counterbalance that.
But they won't.
And I think one of the things you all can do is stop perpetuating it yourselves. Because the interesting thing that I see, even like amongst like the recent pop stars, it's interesting to me how the women, support the lighter skinned black pop stars
Yeah.
more so than the darker skin. And we see that very prominently with the way Beyonce is treated
Mm-hmm.
versus Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's
Right.
all
And
black
and
women.
and and most and
Because
a
Kelly's
lot of black
actually, in
men.
my view, more
Yeah, a
attractive
lot of black men
than
like Kelly. I
Kelly
always
is more
preferred
attractive,
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly is more
and I
attractive.
think she's a better entertainer and a better
Agreed.
singer than Beyonce. But black women
Black
rally
women.
around Beyonce.
Yes.
Right.
Is that not true,
That
Kareem?
That
is
is very
true.
true.
True. My whole point was I was saying before that it's not only a black woman issue. That's what I came on the panel and trying to argue, but everybody was arguing me down, say, "Oh, it's only black women." It's not only a black woman issue. That was my whole point. And yes, black
Black
women do
women are only ones
perpetuate
who
it.
can fix it. Black
Okay,
women are
well,
the only ones who can fix it.
okay.
Yeah, I agree. That's primary because you guys are the one who raised the children. You guys are the first one who introduced their perceptions, or influenced their perceptions on almost all issues, but including and especially the whole issue of skin color and skin tone and featureism and hair texture and all that nonsense. Men aren't involved in those conversations,
Right.
Not
especially at the beginning stages of the lives of children. That's women who introduce uh, children to those concepts.
yeah.
So to Kareem's point, black women are not the only one doing it. But for one, we black. We don't give a fuck about nobody else.
Which is
And
what I was
two,
trying to say
And
earlier.
that's right. That's what we said. She keeps talking about other countries. We dealing with black folks.
and
No,
That's the
but
only
two,
one.
that
in
I
these
only
other
use that like
countries,
the
there's
third.
real issues for them being darker skinned.
All
You
right.
can't be super dark skinned and be on TV. And you can't be super dark skinned and be out in public and be an it girl in Asia. That shit is way different. It's a different dynamic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
different
we
from
only
in
care
America.
about black people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here in America, we ain't getting down like that.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me. I have to come off the panel now. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
But
thank you
thank
for
you.
coming up, Kareem.
All
I
right.
enjoyed
Thanks,
you, Kareem.
Take
thanks
care,
for
Good
brother.
coming
night.
up.
Take
You're
care,
all
Kareem.
you're appreciated as always. And
Uh,
Karina's one of
keep
my
using that
patrons on
smile.
Patreon.
Keep using that smile.
So she's one of my patrons on Patreon. So I do acknowledge that. I do
Hope
have
I
a
rip
patron.
off one of your Patreons.
So-
If I did, I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. I mean, like anybody who steps up here in that chat or on this panel to one of these conversations knows what they're getting into, and I do respect Kareem for that. She's not one of these females that's gonna want you to agree with her on everything she says, and then go slanders you when she gets on another platform. That's what I like about Kareem. She does have a difference of opinion, but she's not as bad as some of these other ones out here. So, at least we can at least acknowledge that. But to each his own. We all have our own opinion. If y'all don't feel the same way, that's fine. But I know she has respected this platform. So that's what I'll say about that. But let's get back to the topic. Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah, I mean, I view it, just kind of, I view it like I do all other things. Life isn't fair. Some of us are born with certain natural advantages, or certain things that are more appealing or more effective or more recognized in whatever respective environment we're in. And it's up to us to either maximize whatever talents and advantages of whatever we have. I'd be a fool to be complaining about Michael Jordan being 6'6", for example, and people being more attracted to him for that particular reason. So at a certain point, you have to do the best with what you have, and you got to make an accurate assessment of where you stand in the environment and assess, okay, well, all right, maybe I don't have as much going in this area or in this kind of, with this particular kind of resource, but I do have this. I do have, whether some physical thing like shape or height, or if a woman is particular has long legs, for example, or a very beautiful eyes or whatever. There are very few women that don't have any quality that cannot be accentuated in a way that expands or enhances their attractiveness. Very few women, especially those who are not overweight. The biggest issue with Black women in particular, it's not skin color, it's their weight.
Yeah, and they're feminine, and their femininity. But I want to take the conversation back to where protagonist mentioned the intersectionalist, because there is colorism, but what has happened is that these intersectional mostly white feminists have done, they've taken a cultural relationship dynamic, right, and have catapulted it to a political one. You know what I'm saying? And it was never meant to be put into the political sphere. You know what I'm saying? So then it gives these Black women a right to argue it out in public when they really should be worrying about more structural racism. But instead, they're acting as if in politics we need to worry about colorism here in America, and we don't. You know what I'm saying? Because some of our greatest Black leaders were light skinned, and some of them were dark skinned. They didn't do colorism in terms of Black politics. Is not a factor. These intersectionalist feminists are catapulting it to a level and to a discourse that we really don't need to be giving it any credence, the level of credence we are.
I agree with you on that, but I think there's something else more to it as well. When I hear Black women talk about colorism, I don't know who they're arguing with. Who exactly is using colorism to their detriment? It's not Black men. So are they saying, is it white men,
Right.
white women? I don't even know who they're arguing with in that regard. It seems like they just needed something to feel like they're involved in a fight. Problem is they're picking the wrong fight to be involved in.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's where the problem is. They don't want to fight the real fight. They'd rather fight this fight that nobody's arguing.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you. Thank you.
That right, that
people don't
nobody's
care about
arguing.
colorism. I don't know where they get this from and why they want to fight it. So they can't fight us because we're not the ones holding their reins right now. They're getting $10 billion from these white corporations. So I don't think it's colorism in that regard. I don't think they can light on dark in certain circumstances, But I do know that they do care if you are prettier and you'll be willing to be a bootlicker. You
Yeah.
know, if you go down the line with them, they'll accept you a little bit better. So
Yeah.
I just think women pull this stuff for no apparent reason. I just think they want to have something to discuss. It's kind of silly, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not even an argument.
Well, with women, one thing I see about with colorism, they deal with it. They have a hard time with it because when you see women putting on makeup, what's the first thing they put on? Foundation. And what is the
Mm-hmm.
foundation? You don't never how I don't never ever remember seeing somebody putting on darker
A
foundation. It's
darker
always lighter.
foundation.
It's the women. It's lighter. It's always lighter. It's never darker.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is. Well, the other thing is, so just like she was saying, the whole bleaching cream thing, that is big in other places, Caribbean, Asia. I mean, it's a big swing. I know some people that have used it here, but not to the degree of those places. To clear up blemishes, blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
They
in the
might put a
U.S.,
nudge on it.
those creams, I mean, some of those creams or some of those ingredients they use for bleaching are carcinogenic. So
Mm-hmm.
those things are much more regulated. And now, not to say that people don't, I mean, somehow bring certain types of products from out of the country or whatever, but it's more difficult to and of course if you're wealthy, then you can very easily acquire whatever sort of bleaching regimen you want. And we do see some celebrities that females
Yeah.
and celebrities in
Some
particular, it's
guys
quite
too. Jamie
apparent.
Foxx is that.
It's quite
Yeah.
apparent that they are on some sort of lightening regimen.
Yeah.
But for the average uh, black person or black woman in particular, it's not as easy to acquire the products to do really hardcore bleaching as it may be outside of the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I once had a girlfriend. Well, she wasn't really a girlfriend like that. I would, anyways, it was a chick I was dealing with, right? I would go, I would date her, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But I told her that I had got beat up unconscious by police, right? And this goes to the BS of colorism, because instead of her being sympathetic, right? Because she was really dark skinned, right, sister, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't get with her because of her dark skin, because she was just a female I could get with. You know what I'm saying? And she looked all right. So, but instead of her being sympathetic, she chose that moment to laugh at me, at the fact that I got beat up unconscious by the police, just so she could interject some colorism shit. She's because she laughed and says, "Oh, you're light skinned. You got beat up by the police." Like, come on, really,
Wow.
really,
I'd have never spoke to her ever again after that. That was the
really,
last words we ever shared.
really. So you
Yeah,
want you
that's
want to
ridiculous.
pull colorism instead of dealing with the structural racism, and that's my point. Instead of dealing with the structural racism, you want to use this as an opportunity to bring up your colorism issues as a black female. Even though I'm light skinned and I'm with your dumb ass, you still want to focus on colorism, John.
Well, it sounds like to me she was making light of darker skinned men.
Exactly. That's what I
I mean,
take.
that's what I mean, because this whole perception of this notion that,
Yeah.
typically when someone is brutalized by the police, obviously it's typically a male, and typically,
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right, but most black women are not in tune with that. You know what I'm saying? Again, that's she just took an opportunity to take a shot. She ain't counting how many light skinned and dark skinned men is getting beat up by the police. You understand what I'm saying? That ain't some shit.
Mm.
That ain't some shit that females do. You know what I'm saying? She's just took a fucking opportunity to interject some fucking colorism for no goddamn reason, just because the bitch got colorism on the brain.
Now I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, in the case. So I have a certain opinion. I've been doing some research, listening to some folks in regards to our black women, and it seems that they are on the side of white supremacy at this point in time.
Yes.
I'm starting to think that this whole colorism argument is basically to shade that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
when you
Yes.
get to it, they never really want to talk about the other side of the fence, how they
No.
aid white supremacy.
Yeah, they don't. They don't want to go that far. They don't really want to have, and even when in the pro-black circles, black women really don't want to have real conversations about structural racism. They really don't want to go. They'll talk a lot of BLM, but just having a real breakdown on what racism is, and let's point the finger at these white people. They're not really gonna do it like that.
Guess they know where their bird is
Well,
buzzing. Huh?
I mean, women in general don't. I mean, women in general are not, revolutionaries. They're not really, created to change things. They're created to sort of, settle in whatever the existing environment in and provide sort of support for,
Right, support. Exactly.
yeah. So I
True,
mean,
true.
it's not a surprise that you don't have. To me, it's not a surprise that you don't have many women, because I don't think women in general can even really. I don't think they have the capacity to think about those things in the way we do.
That's
It's
a
not a
good point.
coincidence
That's a
that
good point.
most you know societies and cultures and structures and highways and et cetera are built by men. It's not that's not a coincidence. They just don't they don't have that type of vision, that type of sort of strategic perspective. And it's not a criticism of them. I think they're just a product of what they were evolved to be. Just as we are a product of, we were evolved to be and do something different and to be a little more strategic, a
I
little
mean, that's
more
that's that's
visionary.
that's too great of a point. Now we got it. Now you have caused us. We need to ask a question: should we lighten up on these systems and just understand that that's female nature, if they are exhibiting some coonish, sellout, non, caring behaviors concerning our
Well,
struggles?
the biggest issue we have with black women, in my view, the very biggest problem and dilemma that we have with black women, or ADOS women in particular in this country, is that they're raising our sons.
Mm,
That's the biggest problem with them.
mm,
See, if black men had dominion over their children, especially their sons,
mm,
then our a lot of things would fall in place. But
mm,
because they're raising our sons, they're not prepared, they're not designed, they're not evolutionarily designed to raise effective men, effective leaders,
mm,
effective directors. So because they're not designed to do that, it retards the development of our entire culture, our
mm,
entire black society, because you got people doing something that they should not be doing.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
So in
So
that
so we
case,
So
so should we
so in that
listening,
lighten
so
up?
case,
you
should we
almost
be
have
more
to
strict?
choose it. Well, I would say this, demand that they give their sons to their fathers.
Mm. Well, there it is.
What about the
That's what we
daughters,
should.
though?
All right. We just got Mr. Z up here, so we're gonna let him have the flow for a moment.
What's going on, yo? What's going
What's
on,
up? What's
panel? What's
up?
going on, everybody,
What's
and
up? What's up?
everyone in the chat?
See.
Um, so the colorism conversation, we have finally come full circle to women's biggest gripe. This is up there. This is like up there with the who celebrity black men are having sex with. This is like right there. Those two things are like really their top two concerns in the black community. The whole world could burn to hell if it wasn't for these two things, and they wouldn't care. Um, so we're right on, and I've been listening since the beginning, on and off, and we're right about it's primarily women perpetuating some of these colorist notions and how they treat their children, their grandchildren, the men and women, the certain men that also then adopt colorist views. I completely agree with Black Uru. He That was a masterful way of explaining it. Yeah, there's colorist brothers, and so what? And it's true. It's like, yeah, I've met them, and you know, in the in in the privacy of man to man conversation, I'll be like, brother, you sound stupid. But what can I tell him about a preference, right? What can I tell him about his preference? You know, and I agree with Black Rule. I'm a 5'9" dude. I have definitely been overlooked because- by women for the 6'2" tall dude. You know, and that's something that you get over it so fast. I'm bringing that up right now in the midst of this conversation. I can't remember the last time I actually cared, right? Like at least a decade. Yeah,
I know
because
I was at the Walmart maybe a week or
Mhm,
two ago, and I kind of got nervous when I was talking to
mhm,
this chick, and this huge tall dude, black dude, started
mhm,
walking around. I
mhm.
was like, oh shit. She looked up at him, and I looked up, and I said, oh, is the conversation over?
Right. It's like because I'd be like, you know what, the thing that's a little bit different for men and women when it comes to colorism is not just the beauty standard. It's that men go through things that the competition that you go through while you're growing up, it 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 enculturates you into losing, right? It enculturates you into not being preferred. It enculturates you into not being that person, right? Trying out for the football team, basketball team, debate, right? All these things, the sense of competition. So you learn how to lose. It's not all about winning. You learn how to lose. You learn how not to be first all the time, right? Where I think because to a certain extent, so much of what women are is wrapped up in this look and in this femininity, which, by the way, once again, black men have nothing to do with the beauty standard for the most part, especially in Western society and America specifically. So when they see and I keep on bringing this up all the time, right? When they see Kobe with Vanessa, like they completely forget that he was with Brandy before, right? And she left him, right?
Huh? Say
They
that again.
when she left him.
Oh, you what which guy did you say? Kobe?
Yeah, people don't
Kobe
know
who?
that.
Kobe
Yeah,
who?
Kobe
Kobe.
Yeah,
Bryant.
I didn't know
Yeah, he
that.
dated
Yeah.
Brandy and she left him.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Like
A lot of people don't know. Y'all better look. Y'all better find out y'all history. Don't be letting these sisters be mad for no reason. Um, right? And I throw that in their face. I threw that shit in so many people's face. But you know the point I'm trying to make is like it's really this colorism thing, and the reason why I think it's really exploded on the internet. First of all, of course, the internet has democratized the town square, and all of the most hurt, bitter, angry people now have a place to huddle together and get into a circle jerk or a circle finger in this case of hurt girl stories, and it's it's also allowed them to kind of perpetuate some of this rage that they have about what black celebrity men are doing with their penis, right?
Mhm.
And so for every Michael B. Jordan, yeah, he's dating what's her name now, Lori Harvey, but y'all remember that boat party situation or you know what some of these other black celebrity men are doing with their penis. At the end of the day, that's what it's really about. And so, yes, average black men like the rest of us, we could all be with dark skinned sisters. What they care about is what that top 10%, top 20% of black men, what they're doing with their penis. Even though they never gonna
exactly.
meet dude,
Yep.
right? They're never gonna meet dude. They're never gonna be in his presence. They're never gonna live that lifestyle. It doesn't matter. They're living vicariously through whatever woman he's with,
Yeah.
right? And if I can envision, if I don't see Michael B. Jordan with a chick that look like me, then that's what all you men would do if you had money, right? And also this low key is some white racist shit too. Let's be honest, right? Let's be this is some white racist shit too, you know, because like Black Uru said, and it's so true. Them sisters get real feminine when the white boys, especially the ones with some money, when they come around, the ones with a little bit of power, a little bit of status. We had a Christmas party every year when I worked at the law office. Sisters came suited and booted, right? And it was mainly for that group of men, right? And I mean that's what comes with this colorism conversation. It is, and I think one of the brothers was saying it is so true. It has become the replacement for the white supremacy conversation,
Yeah.
right? We don't want to have the conversation about who's running what, how they running it, how they got to the position they got to. No, we don't. We talk about that tacitly and on the surface, but in reality, what people are really passionate about in the black community, and this is how this whole entire space became, right? This is how this space came about, is what celebrity people are doing with their genitals, and who hurt you when you was in middle school, high school, or in early college. Like that, literally, that's what everybody care about. Everything else is just bullshit.
I mean,
Go ahead.
that's what she brought up. She brought up, way back in high school.
Exactly.
That was
That's
her whole
exactly
group.
what she brought up.
That's terrible,
That's
Well,
bro.
I wanted to
How
point
old is
something
she?
out to everybody too, because women do a thing where they change the meaning of words. So colorism is the discrimination of or prejudice. So
Mhm.
that's why I asked her what happened that was negative in high school, and it was just that they preferred light skinned girls. All right, did they treat y'all worse, or is it just they didn't talk to y'all as possible girlfriends? And basically, it was they didn't get the attention that the light-skinned girls got. That's not
Well,
Right.
colorism,
truth teller,
but they
That's
wanted
not
to
the
this
do
is
it.
No,
something.
definition.
this
That's
is
not the
what
Go ahead. Go
really
ahead.
definition.
this is what really happened. They
Mm-hmm.
stepped to the
Mm-hmm.
light skinned girls first,
Yeah.
Right.
and
True.
they're upset that they stepped to. It's not that they didn't step to them, because
Mhm.
I'll bet you those same guys stepped to them, but they
Probably.
stepped to the light skinned girl first. That's it.
True.
That's what
Or
they
the one
that
guy that
you could
everybody liked,
sum
the one
up.
popular
You
guy
could
went for the
sum
light
up
skinned chick.
everything, because if
Yep.
she didn't say she didn't date, she didn't say that none of her darker skinned friends dated. She didn't say that. What she said was they approached the other girls first.
Well,
first.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
she said the one guy who was the athlete. She
Yeah,
pinpointed
the top
one
1%.
dude.
Yeah,
You
That's
see,
why I
what did I
brought it
say?
up.
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
Because
hypergamy.
I
Exactly.
knew that's who it
Exactly.
was.
Yeah,
Because
And
the pretty
and
the
Ricky, that's the only
superstar
one she
guy.
was concerned with.
The
but
superstar guy.
what we have to take into account, the brain processes rejection like physical pain. So you're talking about mainly a bunch of people going through puberty, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and the way their brain is processing. Because you gotta remember, before, for the most part, human beings before the past 300, 400 years, we were very tribal, right? I mean, if you was living in a city state, but for the most part, over the past 500, 600 years, we were very tribal. So now you're in a school with hundreds of people. Your middle school has hundreds of people. Your high school probably got a few thousand, right? Early college, you working on maybe a 12,000, 50,000. It depends on the college and university, right? And you're whether it's overt or more subtle, you're being rejected, or the people that you're attracted to are not attracted to you. And that does do something to the mind. I brought this story up um um a few months ago, and I bring it up often. It was a girl I was dating. We're both in our early 30s, and she could remember the guy. She said his name. She knew his name. The Mind you, this girl had obviously she had already had sex. She already been in relationships since then. She remembered the guy's name from 16 years old that she was attracted to, that wasn't attracted to her. You see what I'm saying? Because that left a mark, and that's a lifetime mark. That's never going nowhere. She's gonna be 85 and still remember this shit. You know? So we gotta think about that when we think about colorism. It is very true that it's a lot of this is not based off of what any man, black man in particular, is doing or saying. It's all in their imagination, right? And in their mind, if you justify just a smidge, then all of it is true, right? And that is frightening to me, because there's no, I agree with Black Uru, there's no way you really combat this. They have to combat it.
Yeah. Yeah, and see that, and that was,
Mhm,
and that's why I was so hard with her, because again,
mhm,
if you agree with it a smidge, they'll take the whole mile with this thing.
mhm,
That is the psychology.
mhm.
Whenever they bring this up, you can't give them an inch, or else they'll say yeah. They'll act like you agree that this is actually a thing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. My approach to it is
Mhm,
different from
mhm,
that. You know,
mhm,
in that I accept the existence of colorism. I accept the fact
mhm.
that there are some black men who do actually prefer lighter skinned women, and I say, so what?
Yep,
Hmm.
I say the
yep.
That's
world
not
is not
discrimination,
fair.
though.
And
I
you
I
know,
think that's
say
where you
and
that
get
I'm
clear.
one of them.
I said
I'm
that they
I'm
are
one of them.
entitled. They are
Mhm,
entitled to prefer
Right.
tall men, rich
mhm,
men, dark
mhm,
Listen,
skinned men, light skinned men,
Uru,
men with green eyes,
mhm,
black men with blue eyes. Hey,
Uru,
they're entitled to have
Uru,
any.
Uru. I'm
mhm,
one of those guys that prefer light skinned women, but that
mhm.
depends on the mood that I'm in. Because some days I don't like light skinned women. I like dark skinned women.
But what I'm saying is that that's not really, in my view,
Mhm,
that's not relevant.
mhm,
You're entitled. Look, we all have idealized views of women that we would have wanted. How many of us
mhm.
get that woman? How many of us get the goddess version of the female that we might have had when we were 15, 16, 18-year olds? How many of us
Mm,
marry that woman?
mhm.
I don't even like
Almost
that
none of
Mm.
woman
us do.
now. I'm an adult.
You
Almost
know,
none of us do.
l- you know,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that. Like, this is funny, right? My girlfriend is light skinned, like a couple shades darker than Amber Rose light skin. We have a running gag, a running joke. You want to know why? Because I know what celebrity person she's attracted to. She knows who I'm attracted to. You want to know the funny part about who I'm attracted to? The person I'm attracted to is a baby mama from a white dude. Y'all know who it is. Guess who it is? Tika Sumter. You
Oh
see what I'm
God.
saying? So like that lets you that's something I just gotta accept. Tika Sumter like white dick. She like white
Mhm.
dudes. That's just the way it is,
So
right?
so you
So
would not be, so basically if Tika Sumter would walk right past you to the blonde white dude.
yeah.
And
And then
you're
and then
and if
go ahead,
you're
go
a
ahead.
female, it's
Mhm.
okay for you to just be totally destroyed and wrecked by that.
Exactly.
But
And
as a man, that's what you
mhm.
call Tuesday.
And black going on to that, and black women onlookers would be like, well, y'all not attracted to her anyway. Meanwhile, I'm over here drilling over
Yeah,
Tika Sumter that just walked past
crestfallen.
me to the white dude.
Crestfallen. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like this is some bullshit. People project these ideas sometimes that largely have no bearing in any reality. When you see people, when you see women get on they high horse or go after your preferences, well, the majority of black men when they do marry, and like not 51% majority, like 80% majority marry black women. They date black women. They have children with black women. They primarily have sex with black women. Like it's just this weird understanding of black men, and it's really not an understanding of black men and their air quotes preferences, and then colorism. And is colorism a thing? I agree with Black Uru. It's a thing. I've definitely seen and heard black men say certain things, but the vast majority of black men are like Ray Schmurder. They don't have a type. They don't have no type. Niggas don't have no type for the most
No.
part. And I agree with Black Women. Like, how many of us actually end up with our idealized version of what we found attractive at 18? Would you gonna leave your girlfriend because she don't look exactly like what you like? Even if you came up on money, you gonna leave her? If I
Right.
won the lottery today, I'm not leaving my lady.
But
You
that's
know,
what I'm saying.
like.
That's why
Yeah,
the
I'm
whole
different.
conversation
I'm leaving
is
everybody. I'm vanishing.
you're what?
I'm buying an island somewhere. I'm vanishing. My kids will see me 10 years from now.
Oh man, it's just it's some of this understanding of colorism, man. I agree with the brother that said like, yeah, this is really a way to obfuscate being getting into politics and getting into what's really going on, getting into
Mhm,
speaking about
mhm.
racism and white supremacy and what's really happening. This
But
colorism conversation. Go ahead.
the reason they don't want to deal with the structural
Mm-hmm,
white supremacy is because as a black woman, They getting paid off by them. Why
Say that.
why why would they want
Hmm.
to go that far to dismantle it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey, hey, fellas.
Hmm.
It's that time.
Oh,
Yeah,
Thank you
Man,
guys. Thank you for
I
having me.
came in just on time.
yeah, yeah. But go ahead and get your final statements in. And
Well,
I'm doing this again tomorrow night. So if the conversation or the topic is good enough,
mhm.
then it'll be a great show. I mean, it'll be a good show regardless because I'm hosting it. But let's,
true that.
Mhm.
yeah. So go ahead with the final statements. Whoever wants to get started first.
I'll
If
go
I
first.
may,
Let me
oh,
go ahead, Black Widow, if you want to go first. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I'll just say thanks for having me, and I look forward to being on your panel again. So thanks.
All right, Black Guru. As always, an honor. Trust me.
You
So
other fellas, you all have a good night.
all right, salute.
All right, absolute. And so, my final statement is going to be kind of a question and statement. What is very interesting is that some of these sisters, their prescription to colorism in the black community is to go to non-black men and then have daughters who are
Mhm.
gonna probably be they're gonna pass the brown paper bag test. So let me get this right. You're gonna battle supposed black male colorists by producing more light-skinned black women. What? What? Like you hear this, bro? You hear
It's,
this?
it's,
Not the
it's gonna take
phone.
me
Oh,
a
Oh
minute to process that
no.
one.
and then what? So and then you're gonna socialize them and raise them to stay away from black men, so that they can be the bottom caste of white society as light-skinned black women who are not dark-skinned black women who, when white dudes prefer black women, that's where they go usually, and who you socialize to not be with a black man. How does this work?
Single motherhood,
Right?
man. That's what it
It
is.
ain't bad.
Man, so at the end of the day, and then I'll make this my closing remark. At the end of the day, this colorism is real across the planet. Definitely, if y'all want to see military style colorism, me and PK and Black Cam Robin in the comments, we're talking about this. Y'all need to check out what's going on in India and in Latin America. You want to see colorism for real? Check out all of South Asia, especially India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Um, Check those countries out if you really want to see. If you really want to compare what we got going on in the Black American, maybe even the Black Western world, Black Britain, Black America, Black Canada, compared to colorism that's damn near codified into like a caste system, right? So, and I'll end it right there. Thanks for having me up, Kev. Shout out to everybody else on the panel, and it was good hearing Kareen today, and shout out to everybody in the chat.
All right, salute.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Z, once again, giving your perspective, which is always a good one. So thank
Oh
you.
yeah, and Indigenous TV. My bad in the comments. That's what I was talking to about colorism. Also, I didn't want to leave him out.
Okay. All right. So who's ever next?
Well, I just want to say I enjoyed it, that even though I came in and had to figure out what was going on. But once I did, and I'm like, okay. So thanks you guys. Have a good night, and I will be on tonight. I mean tomorrow night listening, and hopefully we can keep the discussion going. And if not, whatever we talk about, I know it's going to be a great show. Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.
All right, good night.
I appreciate those sentiments, Andre Lewis. Whoever wants to go next.
I'll go. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I've been listening to you for the last couple of months, and I thought this was a good opportunity to jump in finally. Great conversation. Uh, there's some worrisome things happening with black women that is going to lead black men to really only have one of two options, and I don't think they're going to like either. But we'll see how it goes. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, good night. Good night.
Truth teller. Thanks for coming up. And yeah, like, let me make a point about what he just said. I do run these shows a certain way, and I get people quite often that say that, hey, you know what? I've been watching you for quite some time, and I finally decided to come up. So, hey, I appreciate it. That you finally decided to come up after watching me all this time. Which means that I'm producing content that people pay attention to. So, I'll always be mindful of that. So, appreciate it. Thing is Ian Graves or Donnie or
Yeah.
Don. Okay, go ahead.
Uh, go,
Whichever one.
Go ahead.
I'm out. I just want to say, great show. Long live the habitual line steppers. See you tomorrow. Shit.
Word. All right, Donnie.
Yeah, let me see if I can put something together. Peace, bro. I think what has been shown is that colorism is about discrimination in a structural form in terms of economics and social mobility. I'm not necessarily sure that we can say colorism in the black community is preventing black women from being able to move upwardly from an economic and a social position. So therefore, I don't really take it that serious for us in this country because, again, it leads back to blaming black men, and that's something that I do not want to do because it's not true. And that's my point. Thank you for having me up on the panel. Appreciate you as always.
Oh, okay, Ian. Appreciate you being up here as well, and I appreciate anybody who steps up here and offers their thoughts, even if it is a difference of opinion. Is I do respect all opinions as long as they are respectful to what we're trying to say here, and that's the only thing that I've been trying to say. Now, as far as the colorism argument, I do agree that in order for colorism to be something tangible, and everybody mute up. Okay, well, Ian, mute up real quick. Okay, all right. The colorism thing can only if it's something real and something tangible. That means that you are being impacted economically and you're being restricted some kind of way. This colorism thing is just based off feelings of insecurity alone. If there's something that you want, if you feel colorism is in existence, there's something you want to change about yourself. I mean, everybody doesn't share that same sentiment. I, as a dark skinned guy growing up, basically all of my life, I've never felt the burn of colorism, because I always just viewed myself as a black person. But anybody that's light skinned as well, I also viewed them as black people. So I thought the whole thing was another little stupid thing that is keeping us divided as a people. There were very great points that were made tonight. First of all, if there is colorism in other groups and other races, uh, and Donnie said this earlier, and I agree with it, and it's my sentiment exactly. I could really care less. I care about solving the problems in our group, in our people, so we can uplift ourselves. And once we uplift ourselves, it uplifts each other. So all this little stupid shit that's keeping us divided is a conversation that is necessary. It needs to be had, and we need to get through this because I mean, the reason why we keep having these conversations because we keep having this stupid shit happen. Now, as far as the colorist thing, I do believe that it's because of how how do I put it? The dating world goes. Okay, is I can't go around and complain about who these women prefer. If they prefer a Al B. Sure type, as it prefers like as to a Wesley Snipes type, the fuck I'ma say about that shit? Well, I mean, oh, us dark skinned men, we always have these trials and tribulations. No, I'm not gonna say anything like that. But when Donnie was saying, we didn't like you because you were busted and crusty, that was just to reinforce the point that uh, there might have been some shortcomings that are your fault and not necessarily the fault of how the culture perceives things. So, and I agree with a lot of the sentiment that was expressed. I've seen plenty of sexy dark skinned women. I really hate to bring it down to a sexual level, but the first thing I see when first thing I think when I see a beautiful dark skinned woman is I bet you that thing sure get a little moist and wet. You know what I'm saying? It's always something sexy and good about a beautiful dark skinned woman to me. And I think a lot of us do prefer that kind of type. If a black woman says anything different, if she says something like we prefer the light skinned types, then that's the insecurity that she has to deal with. I've known plenty of women that say that it's because they're light skinned and there's always another quality. Like, they might be overweight or their attitude might suck. But they're always trying to say it's because of my dark skin. But um, at the end of the day, it all depends on how you feel about yourself. If you perceive yourself to be a beautiful person, then no one will be able to tell you different. And it doesn't matter what your skin tone is. Now, as far as the movie is concerned, this conversation started out based in the with the film The Harder They Fall, which was the basis of the conversation because a lot of people did not appreciate Zazie Beetz being cast as Stagecoach Mary. And that's another thing that I could care less about. I mean, because I believe that they just were, at the end of the day, we're just hiring the best people for the job. And this is just another way of saying that we'll never be happy with anything because we always got something to complain about. So, my quest to promote common sense and, try to end the stupid shit will continue from here. And, that's it for now. I will come to you with another good topic tomorrow night. Hopefully, you guys will be there for it. My name is Kev. This is Black Men Being Brutally Honest. And wow, there have been no dislikes. So shit, I must be slipping. So I mean, 60 likes, zero dislikes. So yes, shoot, y'all just won't let me have fun and play my little video, huh? So, but anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. If it's your first time here, please subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification. Make sure you hit all notifications, and I will see you tomorrow night. Long live the habitual line steppers. In Kev we trust. Till the next time. Peace. Oh, sorry about that. Let me read this super chat from the Roger Report real quick. Thank you. Long live the habitual line steppers. And he says, quote, colorism isn't the problem. The problem is how ugly the women are and how the women see themselves is the problem. Men can't fix how they perceive themselves. I had to add a couple words to that to make sure it gets said properly, but we know what you mean. And yeah, that point was made with the broadcast. And that is 100%. So once again, thank you, and Kev we trust. Goodbye.